Hello everyone, time for another stream. Let's see what we're gonna do today. npm start. So let's see where we were since last time. Here we go. It's already really starting to look like Spotify a bit. That's great. Wonderful. Can I play? Double click. Yes, I can. Great. Good. So yeah, what are we gonna do? I don't know yet. Maybe we want to do a little bit of server-side programming. I think it's time to do that kind of stuff because really we are missing that all the time. And so far we just have this front end, and now I'm going to move that to the client folder. So move everything in here to the client. Actually, Node module I will reinstall. That's a little quicker. Get everything else into this client. Boom. And delete all this. We'll reinstall that. And then I'm going to make a continue. And we're going to make a new folder for the server. I guess I'll call it API. Okay, now what I'm going to try to do with this API is do it like from really Node.js core. We're not going to do anything fancy. We're going to keep it really, really basic. And because I really like working that way. So I guess we'll do something like npm init first. Package name. Sure, API is fine. 1.0, no description. Well, entry point GS, no. Well, I'll change that later. Test command, git repository. I mean, all of this stuff I don't really care about. Oh, yes, it's fine. Okay, let's see what we've got. So no description, that's fine. No, I don't need a main right now. Test doesn't exist, so that's fine. I guess for now we'll just do start as well, just like the other. And we'll just run a TS node. Actually, I think there was an update to TS node. Now people are not using that anymore. So let me open the right permanently live TypeScript. So I think it was TSX now. TSX, yeah, that's the one. TSX, easiest way to run TypeScript in Node.js. That's great. That's what we want. Just very straightforward. Do they show also how to? Oh, get started. Okay, yeah, just install it with development mode. Starting with that. Why do I not see it? That's weird. -D. It's development, right? Like, oh, this wasn't saved. Let me just open it again. Here we go. And then the script will be start. Will go something like tsx index or tsx source, because we're going to make a source folder here too. Author, yeah, I guess I'll put myself here. Why not? Okay, that's a good start. And there doesn't need to be a main right now. And there's one dev dependency. Actually, that's just kind of the dependency always, but for now, none of this matter. Actually, I'll just do it like that anyway. Because I'm always just going to run it with TSX. Why not? You know, this is going to be a very, very small little repository, managing the absolute minimum you need to manage. That's the goal for now, at least. So one of the things. So first of all, we're going to make an index.ts. And I was thinking of doing WebSockets as well eventually to kind of stream things from one platform to the other. But is that the right approach immediately or not? I don't, well, actually, else I just have to redo it later. So might as well do it right away, right? I think no. I think we'll do it in steps. Always better to work in steps. So yeah, we'll just import HTTP. So my goal, by the way, to support HTTPS, I'm going to be using a Google Cloud service called Cloud Run. So I'll put this eventually on some Cloud Run server, and that will execute everything and also put an HTTPS layer over it, an SSL protected security connection. So from the perspective of this piece of code, we don't have to think about this, hopefully. Oh, I need tsconfig as well to be ready for this. I need a good tsconfig that also adds Node. Let me look this up. Tsconfig that adds Node. This is not a bad one, I guess. There you go, and then we don't need plugins right now, that's fine. Yeah, this is all fine, I guess. Why is DOM in here and ES next? I guess we don't need any libraries, right? Weird that DOM was even in here. I think this is a Next.js thing, so that's why it's slightly different. We don't want to do Next.js right now, so we're just going to do pure TypeScript, no Next. That's it, only all the TS's. This should probably be fine, I'm imagining. I guess we also probably need some TypeScript files. I also want everything that I usually do over here in the setup for my... Okay, so we're gonna keep author the same. Let me get some stuff from the client. So we'll split this to the right, open the other package on the left, and get some stuff copied over. There we go. ESLint, in this case, I don't really want any of this. Browser will be true. I mean, for now, we can put this in and just remove a bunch of stuff. Because we're not in the browser anymore. ES6, sure. That's fine. ESLint, and then the rest. We don't need Electron anymore. That should be it. Yeah, that's okay. Prettier we do want, exactly like this. No post-CSS, obviously. Yeah, this is good. Okay, so we got a package JSON, we got a tsconfig that's halfway decent, and then we've got a source. And why isn't this in here? Because HTTP is a standard library, so it should find that. Does that mean that we don't have the right environment? Like there's no Node.js in here or something? I always forget how to include the node environments. Let's ask Gemini or something. Gonna put that over here. Gemini, help me out. Write a, I know you can't see this, I'm just gonna say it, like write a tsconfig. Oh, I can show it probably, it's fine. I just want to delete all my previous stuff. Oh, that's a lot. Yeah, I'm just going to keep it on this screen for now, guys, because you guys can copy it from the source code at the end of the thing anyway. So write a tsconfig that adds in the standard Node.js libraries. What did I miss? Oh, library node, of course. That makes so much sense. Let's go. And also that target is right now. Let's make that ES latest one. Why not? And then why is this erroring? Value not accepted ES6. Okay, ES6 is fine then. Is this okay? Oh, Node, it is not happy with Node. Why is it not happy with Node? Actually have no idea. Module resolution node. Ah, oops. I guess node next. Always forget. Exclude node modules, yes. Include all the files, yes. Let me just ask again. Okay. Nice. And now it says, oh, sorry, I made a mistake. LLMs still have a way to go. All right, that should now hopefully be fine. Is it giving me this error still? Oh, that might be because I need a restart. I don't know. Oh, we can always try it, why not? Actually, I have another file that I could borrow from. That's probably better than this. Let me check, because I built this kind of stuff often. There we go. Oh, it's way simpler, I think. There you go. Very straightforward. Target ES6 module resolution is good. Yeah, now it's fine, right? Let's see. Env source. I think maybe I just forgot to install TypeScript. Like I'm just skipping some real basics here. Yeah. Let's also go look at the package.json again and make sure that we're adding all the basics like TypeScript. Because I think I just, yeah, I just don't have TypeScript yet in here. I'm assuming that is probably why it's giving me these issues. Is there something else we might want? WebSockets, don't know. I mean, for sure, .env, right? I mean, at least later. That's for getting an environment file and loading that in. That's kind of useful. Here, like the types for node. There it is. That's the one we definitely want. It's a bit of an older version probably, but so be it. Cookies, well, I'll have a look at that later. I'll have a look at all of that later. It's no problem for now. And yeah, let's start with this. Let's see what this does. Hey, Anjil, good to hear, man. Great. Yeah, it's a bit of an outdated series now, the blueprints. They should still be online. I basically every time I restart streaming, I start making something like blueprints because I always feel like, you know, imagine you're the starting programmer. You really, if you don't have any source code that you know intimately, like a big amount of source code, then you can never copy paste anything, and you always have to do everything from scratch. Or you know, nowadays you can just ask Gemini, but Gemini makes a lot of mistakes. And so I really recommend people to build up their first, you know, project, even if it's fake, you know, and then to have something to really always refer to, like build it in the best way possible, nicely, like I said, a blueprint, right? Like build your own blueprint, get really familiar with the code, and then yeah, you're going to be having a really easy time. And that's why I'm trying to build this app right now, because you're going to have a Node.js API and a client built with Electron, which is also just a normal website inside, right? The only differences would be the little bit of config files around this, like what I would call the jacket around the code. But yeah, once you have something like this and you really fully understand it, you can build any app you want very, very quickly. And then you can learn specific things like maybe implementing a Stripe API, you know, some other payment gateway or some other database or some, you can start, you know, adding in little components, maybe update to a graph SQL endpoints or something, right? But you have this good base, this blueprint to start from. So I really always want to provide that to people. So yeah, let's keep going and let's build this. We've got the index, now it's fine. Let's see if I can just write this from out of my hand, like right away. So we've got this handler here. Thanks, guys. So let's see. We've got this thing here, and let's listen. Oh, there is this thing though. I think you can just say, oh, listen to this port, and that's it. Because if you don't provide a host name, it should all work out. But I've had cases where in some networks you want to actually say something like 127.0.0.1. But I think in this case, let me just not do it and see if everything works out. And then here, I'm just going to immediately res end an empty array or an empty object, and also write head 200 content type application JSON. Right, so we're just going to immediately write that back and sort that out. Now my formatter doesn't seem to be working. That's unfortunate. Format document. Oh, I forgot to add this to my. That's a classic. Let me get that again from the other side. Trivago. There we go. Get that in there, and this does need to go to the development dev dependencies. I don't know what version, just get me the latest one, doesn't matter. Install all of that, and then my formatter should work. Kind of critical. Okay. Oh, and guys, please, if you have anything that could improve the stream, let me know, right? Because I am trying to always, every stream, like update a little bit, change something. I fixed the microphone, the camera has changed a little bit. Like I'm trying my best, but if you have any suggestions, please let me know, because the idea for me is that I just want to keep on streaming as much as possible, like whenever I have time, and then learn a lot and kind of make the content better. And because I mean, this is just a start, right? I mean, hopefully I've had a couple of starts before where I just did it for a week or two, but never that consistently. I hope this time I want to be more consistent with it, because I really do think that good quality code is sometimes hard to find. I really mean that. I think that is a genuine issue, and I want to be one of the people that tries to solve it by providing it myself. So let's see why I've got 94 code changes. I think that's all fine though, right? Yeah, it's just a lot of movement stuff. Now that I moved the git ignore up, it's all good. So that's fine. We've got an API and I can sort it. Actually, does this run now? I think that's this is a situation of restarting, I do believe, because I did install it. I mean, I can double check this by just doing like npm I, but I just installed it and it should, yeah, there's an issue. So again, restart. VS Code can be very frustrating with this kind of stuff. Let's see, open recent music app. Don't save that. Okay, everything's good till now. It's good to hear your thought process while building something. I'm starting out as a programmer. I'm hoping not to get left behind in this AI era. Yeah, I also said this before to a colleague of mine who was afraid of AI, and I said, you know, I think it's gonna change our work a lot. But I think it will affect newer programmers more than really experienced ones, because in the end, companies do want someone to check if the AI, what the AI is doing, is actually okay. and they want someone with experience who can quickly check that, right? Like, but usually what the AI is doing now is what you usually ask a young programmer to do. So it's kind of a bit, but actually, as always, you know, I might look young, guys, but I'm 31 years old and I've been doing this for a very long time. And I've seen big changes in the industry anyway. Like they happen all the time in programming and in software development. And I have never found that a change has been really negative. Now, maybe, you know, I'm just too optimistic. That could be true. That could be true. But I think that the nature of programming will change into more of like checking what the AI is doing and telling the AI what to do. So it's just like you're just doing less of the lower level stuff and you do more of the higher level stuff. And that's why I think it's still very wise to learn how everything works, kind of to keep an open mind, to learn everything. So you can from like the interface all the way to the database, right, and everything in between. You want to understand everything so that you could kind of ask the AI to build stuff and you know how to check it and you know how to kind of what the full picture looks like. And I think that will become more important. Whereas in the past, I think you could have specialized very quickly in some niche little thing and then make your money with that for a long time. Now I think that might become harder because that niche thing will be taken over by an AI and then you can just ask an AI to do that niche thing instead and now you're out of a job, right? So yeah, I do think people need to expand a bit, but I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I've already seen one colleague of mine who had quite some trouble getting a job. He was also not yet that experienced, so maybe it's because companies are trying to replace their junior programmers with AIs. But it's very scary. It's dangerous. But then again, there are other jobs out there that are even more easy to replace than programming. By the way, why don't the dots come in? I think it's really still not working. Tailwind? Why is there tailwind here? Why? Yeah, I didn't have tailwind in my package now, right? Did I accidentally? Oh my god. Oh, that's bad. Okay. Well, that explains it at least. Yeah, finally. We're good. Okay, everything works. Um, Now, one thing, I don't like working with too much indentation, so let's just make this a function. Handler. And this is the thing. I really like hoisting, like when it hoists a variable, meaning like if I write handler here, I haven't defined it, I defined below, but that's nice because now I kind of from here, from line 4 downwards, I only have function definitions. I don't actually execute anything. I think that's kind of the cleanest way, so you can very quickly see on the top side of your files, you want to see the direct immediate executions, and then at the bottom you put other function definitions, etc. That because if I were to have put something here and this was a really long file, I kind of can't easily see what's going on. Whereas in the opposite side, you know, since people read from top to bottom, it makes more sense to do it like this. But yeah, that's just my stylistic preference. Good. So, and then this is whatever, an HTTP request or something. Server request, server response. That's a good one. That's the other. What's the other one also again? Requests. Just request? Client request? I can see here what it is supposed to be. It is supposed to be incoming message. Server response and incoming message. There. So I'll just add those here to already give the types. What is this OS advertising sending a cat emoji? Is that like their form of advertising? I don't understand. Or does OS advertising have a programmer that likes to follow my content now? I don't know. Let's see. Don't you spam OS advertising. I'm watching you. All right. Good. We've got some basic server that does absolutely nothing. The one issue is I'm going to be getting this content, requesting this API from. So let me put this on half the screen and run the client here. First install again. So I'm going to be also saying I'm going to make this HTTP request from another origin, right? The origin of both apps is different. One, the server and the client are different origins. They have different URLs that they make the request from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to add all the cross-origin resource stuff. Now I always forget all of them. So again, ChatGPT, give me an example of a Node.js response header that has all the course headers. Why am I building the API? So I am building this API because, well, let's first of all run the code again, run this fake Spotify, my music app, so to speak. Here's the music app. So I want this music app to have all the data in the server side regarding all the tracks that it has in the database, but also the account of the user that's signed in. I also want to authorize and identify, like authenticate the user itself. So the two auths, right? Authorize, authenticate, and then have all the data on the server side. But that's it. I'm not going to do any data processing on the server side. I'm going to try to really make it a kind of app that dumps all of the shit, all of the data directly into the client, right? No matter how big it is, could be like half a gig big. It doesn't matter to me, right? Because I'm not going to build this app to be very optimized. I'm going to build it to be optimized in terms of the code looking nice and being easy. And in that regard, I'm trying the API. I'm trying to keep the API very light, but it still has to do its job. It needs to know who's making this request, who's trying to load my songs, right? And are they allowed to? And then, for instance, what we could think about doing is add a premium model, right? So that people have to pay in order to get premium, and then the app will know that it's in premium mode. Because I might want to show you guys that too, right? Using maybe Stripe, or maybe I did another one recently, another payment integration with Aiden. Aiden is pretty good, pretty universal, works in almost every country. Very useful to know, right? If you're going to build an app for anyone, I bet you that there's almost never a situation where they don't want some payment gateway in there, right? That would be great if they only had a programmer that knew how to do that properly. So yeah, that's something we might do as well. And that's why we really want that API, because an API is the only thing that can do that kind of stuff. So here I've got a bunch of nonsense provided by Gemini, but again, the headers are okay, but the way that it writes it is not okay. Easy peasy lemon squeezy indeed. Okay, so I'm just gonna change this a little bit. Max age I don't care about. And then add some commas here, add some semicolons there. I should have asked Gemini to actually do it differently, but okay, rewrite it properly. But it's okay. So these are my standard headers, right? This is the classic. So I'm gonna, and I actually want to, where do I want to put this? Like, because this is not, you know what, I'll make maybe a function for it. Function headers. And then that function will return all of these things. Okay, comma. Now, the one thing is the origin. Currently, I don't need to even protect what the origin is. I want it to be the origin of whoever sent the request. So I'm going to actually repeat this request over here. And then say, I think you can just do request origin. Request headers origin. I guess that should work, maybe. And then here I'll say headers from the request. There you go. So again, no imports other than the classic HTTP normal Node.js module. And we're not using Express, we're not using Next.js, we're keeping it super basic, because I want to teach people, don't overcomplicate your API. And this is something, and maybe I'll go into old man story time, right? But back when I was a young child, the front end was just an HTML, you know, an HTML file that was generated by a piece of PHP code or something terrible like that, and there was maybe a piece of JavaScript that was embedded into the page that fucked up your cursor or something, like something small, put a timer somewhere, I don't know, some very small thing. But over time, the front end started to become more complex. And at the same time, the back end started to become different as well, especially once the phones came, 2008, right? Like smartphones got better and bigger and amazing. And so these phones with phone apps, they are on their own. They're standalone apps. They don't require any interface HTML to be sent from a server, right? They're completely self-sustaining. You update them from an app store. So websites started to copy this idea and becoming more like web apps, even though it's still just a website. It became really just a kind of on its own thing, a static file that you could put on a CDN that would just load and then start loading from a server, right? So you started to see this split between apps and APIs. Now, lately, things have started to kind of merge back again, partially just for websites, of course, not for apps, but for websites, because people wanted to have more control over the headers and the SEO. Kind of, it's good to be able to change the HTML and not have a static template sometimes. So Next.js is quite good at that, and it does something called hydration, where it sends you an interface that it thinks you already want to see right away. So it pops in your screen right away, and then it activates the JavaScript to take control of that app. And then from that point onwards, you can navigate with JavaScript. But that's not what I'm building here. What I'm building here, because we're using Electron as well, we are already hosting everything independently in its own small little app on the front. So the backend has no concern for any templating. It has no concern for SEO. It has nothing like that. It's just a pure data thing. So actually, this is a good thing. Let's actually start, because I know I'm rambling so much, and some people will come in later to the stream and they won't hear my ramblings. So maybe it's good to write down a little bit of what I want to do, just so we get a good idea. Because a good programmer, you want to define which code does what. And you don't want to do everything at the same time, right? You want to be very specific and only do small things. So for instance, API, what are the responsibilities, right? For the API, API responsibilities. We're going to authenticate the user. We're going to authorize the user. And we're going to store the data. And that's it. That's all that the API is going to do. And then the UI responsibilities. The rest. Excellent. We're there. Okay, so let's see. Does this look good? It sucks. But it's okay. But yeah, this is really what I'm talking about. So actually, maybe I'll just say something like, I don't even need to say responsibilities, guys. This is fine. And then, of course, authenticate and authorize. What are you going to authorize or authenticate other than the user, right? You can only authorize users, so we don't even need to write that there. And then here, store data, I can just say database. So keep it all very, very simple. And in fact, also, I want to kind of put it in order that makes sense, like database first, but then authenticate, authorize second and third. So these are the things we're going to do. And for authenticate, so the question with authenticate is, who are you? And the question with authorize is, what are you allowed to see and do? Right? Those are the questions that we are going to ask ourselves when we are writing this system. And in database, I don't have to explain, right? Well, I mean, we're going to keep it simple. So other than this, let me... This is a good way of describing it. Maybe like this. Okay, no SQL for sure, because we want to keep stuff very simple. Then we have the authenticate, which asks the question, who are you? Is that like, yeah, no, I want single. Who are you? That's the question. And what is going on? That's maybe the best question to ask for the database. And then how we're going to do that, no SQL. And then here, how we're going to do that, this is going to be a single sign-on. So using OAuth, right? That's really, and then this authorize is going to be its own thing, my bad. I don't want to write a file forever, guys. I'm not going to, we're going to get to the programming soon, but I do think it's nice to get a little bit of the general ideas in here. So we kind of program in a way that makes sense. And authorization, how we're going to do that? Well, that's interesting because this, I mean, I'm not even going to write anything here because we're not going to use a library for that. We're just going to manually define ourselves in our database a certain structure, a certain schema, if you will, that's going to define what people are allowed to do. But how we're going to do that, that's later. That's later. Okay, so these are the three responsibilities: database, authenticate, and authorize. And so we're going to save that, and now we know what we're doing, and we need to first ask database what's going on, and we're going to do it with NoSQL. But in the beginning, we're going to do it even easier than that. Let's go to the client, because currently, I don't know if you guys remember from the last streams, but I had this constant file over here that actually has all the artists and tracks in here. Now that's no longer what we want. We don't want that anymore. We want to move this over to the server. Actually, this entire constants file we want to move, right? Yeah, like entire constants is no longer going to exist for the front end for now. Might have to put it back if I have a real constant that I want to put there later. But for now, this is fine. So we're moving this to source, move. And then, okay, so our hook, we had this hook that relied on that constant, so we can't have that now, because here, instead of immediately updating, we can't do that. We have to first make a fetch. So we're going to fetch. I'm just going to hard code it now. I can just put the string here, right? We're going to say fetch the local host 8080. And it doesn't matter, we don't have any paths, right? I just made one handler. It always responds the same no matter what you request. So this should be very straightforward. And I think the default is get. So we also don't have to say post or anything, just default. Let's just see if this works. So we're gonna get the data and console log it and see what I get back. It should be an empty object. Oh, but the server is not yet running, so let's also go over here and run it. We can go to the API, npm starts. There we go. Should have started now. And now I guess I need to... we're gonna have to fix this because I don't have Faker installed yet. Oh, I can't even start. I have to do later that it automatically updates every time I make a change. So I'll do that later. But for now, npm install the Faker and npm install nano ID and npm, that's it. Now the types is a good thing. For now, I want to put types globally, but there's a problem with that. And that is that if I add the types like here, if I add the types here, then it can't easily be used once I have a build process going on. But maybe that's a concern for later. That's a concern for later. So I'll talk about that issue once we get there, and that's only when we're doing deployment. So that's a really far time away from now because we're not going to deploy anything this stream. So I'm just going to put things all here, move the types. That will break everything because we always imported the types in a different way. So now we've got issues, and I need to go like kind of high up. What? Oh my god, look at that. That's terrible. But yeah, that's what we need to do now because I just moved it over here. But this should all be fine. Yeah, this is okay. Okay, so we just need to go every file and check if we ever get something from types. Oh, it seems minimal. I thought there were more components. Yeah, there must be. Detail's gonna fail. No. Player's gonna fail. No. Only track list. Oh, that's an easy one. Okay. Oh, thank you, Saeed. Okay, so save that. We're all good now. We have all of this. Oh, well, we're not all good. Let's see. This is just a fail, connection refused. It's going to localhost 8080, but that's because I'm not running my API. So that makes sense. And over here in the API, let's see, is there anything still missing? Yeah, now I can just do like that and everything should be fine again. And now instead of sending nothing back, I'm just going to say JSON stringify artists and tracks. There we go. Put some little break over there, make it look a bit nice. Yeah, this readme can go away, give me some space. I'll close the other stuff, keep it a bit less busy. This stuff, let's keep it a bit small, not overwhelm anyone here. Clear that. Okay, so now we can start npm start and restart the app. Is there an easy way to restart? Currently not. I guess maybe it's fastest if I like make a fake code change or something. Yeah, that works. So yeah, it works. I got a response. So let's read that response on the other side and shove everything in. So use fetch. This worked, but now, see, this is a problem. We don't have the data inside of this yet. I mean, we don't have the JSON yet. So if you open this response, you can see there's a body and stuff, but it's not parsed yet. It's just a bit raw. So I would call this the, maybe just raw. And to get the body out, we do like raw await raw.json. So then it will process it into a JavaScript object, and then we are fine again. And now we will just assume that that body will always have the tracks and the artists, because I sent that. And there you go. So our app looks the same as it did when we started the stream. No progress. But in reality, of course, we did make progress because we are now truly loading it with a use fetch like the way I intended it. Just loading once when the app loads, but that's for now all that we need to do. And it's coming from this simple index file that loads it from some constants. Again, no database yet, right? That was our first task, but I was like, let's first set up a server and then later we do the database. So we do things step by step by step until we have Spotify and more finished. But it's going to take a while. It's going to take a couple streams for sure. And that's also why I always think if you look up to the people like Facebook or Spotify, I mean, these massively multi-million, user apps, the beauty of what that company did is actually not really the technology. And that sounds strange to some people, that might sound strange, but to a couple of senior programmers that hear that, they'll probably agree with me, because really a lot of people can build that kind of software. Maybe a little bit less good sometimes, I understand, right? But pretty close. But what makes these companies amazing is their data. Their data, their marketing, mostly their marketing, really. I mean, the logo and the way people feel about it and that they download the product. So that's the thing. It's not really the quality of the software that gets your company into a very great place. I mean, it's kind of like you have to have it, yes, but it's not that hard to get either. So it's really the marketing that makes or breaks a company. But okay, that's my perspective. I'm just a programmer. That's what I've seen. I've seen a lot of companies with very good software and very bad marketing, and they get nowhere, right? Like that's kind of the classic. And then if you don't even have good software, then what are you doing? But even then, they sometimes survive simply because of raw, like, market dominance or something. So not to say that our job of software programming is not cool and fun, but the influence you have on successful business is not always as big as you might think if you are a programmer. Okay, so what are we doing? We've got a database, or no, sorry, we've got a server. We don't have a database, and I'm thinking, what do we want to do for a database? Because I know that we want something persistent, and we want something that's fast, and I want probably just NoSQL. But then I would have to set up like some kind of I really like using Firestore, Google Firestore. I like running within the Google ecosystem. I don't like AWS as much. But to do all of that is, I'm not going to do that now. You mean the language of the database, or what are you talking about? Chapit. Chapit is asking which language. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's just do something else. I don't want to do a database right now. We'll just use them in memory storage if we have something to upload. So yeah, no, great. Welcome to the channel. So let's see. What do we want to do? We want to, well, this is the thing. Last time I was saying that Spotify has this queuing system, right? So you can play things and you can queue things. Oh, this language itself is TypeScript, Shapit. So I'm writing everything in TypeScript, which is just JavaScript with types, right? Very popular. I think it's the most popular language in the world right now. Or actually, maybe JavaScript still is, but since TypeScript is just like a better version of JavaScript, I think like if you combine the two, it's probably like the most programmers at least are now doing this. Python is also very big, so it's really between Python and JavaScript nowadays in terms of the size. But the thing is, in Python, you can't make a front end, right? So everyone should be doing TypeScript, in my view. Okay, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna make this queuing system because I want, so I can play a song, I can control the volume. I hope this is not too loud. I put it quite soft. Maybe not at this point there. Okay, yeah, Python is big, guys, of course, but yeah, I think TypeScript is like more versatile. Yeah, I was thinking also MongoDB or Redis, those are really great options. The only thing is that the problem I have is if I'm going to host a database, I'm mostly worried about how is it hosted online because it needs to handle a lot of updates and needs to be very fast. And the problem with MongoDB is you still need to install it on a single server, right? And then you need to manually maybe configure sharding and put it on multiple servers if you really want to be fast. And I am very lazy and I don't want to do any database management. I am a very, very lazy developer. And definitely not Postgres, by the way, because that's SQL. And SQL for a JavaScript developer is like, makes no sense because I love JavaScript object notation. Like in my language, I already write everything as JavaScript objects. JSON is a JavaScript object. That's already what I'm used to. So I want my database to work exactly like that. Besides that, I also want to put pretty complicated stuff into my database. Now, I know that PostgreSQL nowadays and MySQL can nowadays also put, you can put JSON in there nowadays. But again, let's go away from talking about all these different options for which database software I want to use and talk about the bigger picture here. I think databases are about infrastructure, right? It's the same question as like, where do you host your server? Where do you host your data? Where do you host your code, right? That's kind of like, where do you host your application? And both of these questions have the same answer in my view, because the answer is you want things that are scalable. Scalable, scalable, scalable. So you want your API to be something called stateless, right? You don't want to store anything in the local memory of this API. You want to be able to deploy this onto a server, and that server doesn't know anything other than what the database tells it, right? And it doesn't store anything there. It always stores it in the database. So the database holds the state. The server just helps you process information that comes in and shove it into the database eventually, right? Or redirect a user or do something like that, right? Authenticate a user, but it just never holds a local state. That's very important because then you can host multiple of these APIs and you can scale things. Now, let me show you Google Cloud Run, right? Which is what we're going to be shoving this server on eventually. Now, this is going to be probably a bunch of sales talk. Any language, any library, any fast autoscaling. Like this is the reason why I want to use Google Cloud Run to put my TypeScript code, because we can put it in a container, a Docker container with a Docker file, and then it automatically scales up and down from zero. So that means if no one goes to my website, I don't pay anything. That's amazing because honestly, no one will go to this website like most of the time. Like there will be one guy once a day that might check once, right? I don't want to be paying for the 23 hours, 59 minutes that this API would have been running if I put it on a separate server that I myself set up, right? And that's always on where my MongoDB instance lives, for instance, right? That's money and not scalable. So if 10,000 people come, or sorry, 1 million people go to my website all at once, that website is going to, if it was on one server, right, running with some MongoDB, some PostgreSQL, and then a hard-coded server that's just running there, that, I mean, a million people go to that website, it goes down. So I don't want the hug of death, right? You want your app to be ready to handle both situations of no one coming, in which case you don't want to pay, or the whole world is connecting, in which case you want at least 100 servers to all, come up at the same time and serve your customers, right? Imagine going to a restaurant and there is, from the outside, you look at that restaurant and there's not a single waiter in there, no one. And the restaurant owner is not paying any waiter, right? That's great. That business is basically spending nothing. So, but then you enter the door, you open the door, and as you open the door, suddenly the waiter exists. One waiter arrives, right? Immediately. And you're like, what the fuck is this, right? And suddenly, and that waiter's getting paid, right? That's amazing. But now the whole town tries to enter this restaurant, and suddenly this place like pops up, like increases the amount of chairs times 10 or times a million, and then a bunch of waiters run in, right? That's what it's like to run on Google Cloud Run, right? It scales dynamically depending on. Now, Kez makes a good observation. There's a guy in the chat here writing something very good. Do you care about cold starts? Which means, what if you had to start up from nothing, and how long would it take, etc., etc. And this is the thing, right? Nowadays, actually, I think I can even show you this. Let me. I mean, I don't even have to show it, but when you make a Cloud Run instance, when you say, look, this is a Cloud Run application, and you tell Google, like, here's my code, good luck. You can say also, use a performance enhancer during the start, right? So it actually boosts the CPU by a lot during just the first like minute or 30 seconds of your app starting. So the cold start is very small. And keep in mind also that because of this thing I just wrote down here, where is it here in my README, right? I said, here, let me open it here. I said the API is going to just do three things: database, authenticate, and authorize. Right? And that's it's doing nothing else, right? So it's not doing any data transformation, calculation, whatever. It's just going to shove it all to the UI, and the UI is going to do, we're going to use the CPU of the user on the user side. That's the key. So it's a very small API that has almost no dependencies, right? Like this is nothing, right? Most APIs that you'll see will have 100 dependencies. So we're going to do something different, and we're going to be making something very simple that loads very quickly and it can start from zero. So it can do a cold start very quickly. And then Kaz says something else. He says here, what if the cluster is far away from the user? And again, this is a good answer. And it's generally, you do need to pick some region where you want to host your stuff when you use Google Cloud. So you generally try to think, hey, where are my users going to be based? And then you put a cloud there in some kind of center, which is hopefully as close to the user as possible. But, keep in mind that these connections are going to be very fast. So I think theoretically you could even host it in multiple regions and have a load balancer if you really want to go crazy. I think that's for the edge cases where you really want that 0.001 second response. We don't need to worry about that, because we're just going to add a nice little spinner or something. And that's also something Mac taught us, right? When iOS first came out, it was actually slower than Windows, but they had this beautiful rainbow, what's it called? The rainbow spinner they got? There's a name for that. I don't know. But it was so beautiful and captivating that people didn't feel like they were waiting a long time. Whereas the Windows little sand thing was like annoying people right away. So that made them feel like they were waiting longer. So it was such a good lesson for all the UI developers out there, all the UI designers. Like, design your loading screen well, and nobody will be annoyed. In fact, if you guys have seen skeleton loaders, those have, like, I think also scientifically proven to be really great. So they look like this, they look like that. See, like this. And the reason this works so well is because this already helps the user prepare visually where stuff will go that they care about. So it's kind of a piece of information that the user kind of needs anyway, and you already know it before the data is even loaded, right? And so this really helps reduce the feeling of loading time. So if you have to wait half a second, or maybe even a full second, if your internet is shit and your you know, connecting to a cluster that's on the opposite side of the world, right? This is the worst case condition. You might have to wait 1 or 2 seconds for this, right? And then you use something like this in order for them to get 2 seconds to just get used to like, oh, this is where data's going to be. Okay. And then it pops in and they're like, wow, that was fast, right? If you showed them a white screen during that, or even just a white screen with a spinner, that's not good enough. And it's going to not give that feeling of speed. So again, 2 solutions here. Keep the API simple so it loads very fast, even from a cold start, and pick it on a cloud run so you can always dynamically scale, right? So that you're not slow because the server is slow with responding. You're only slow because of the time it takes to send a message across the world, right? And then the second one would be make a good user experience, a good UI design that helps get the fatigue from the user, like help the user, give the user information, even if it's not data. That's kind of the rule. Anyway, there's a lot of thoughts about this, and I can talk forever about this shit. So let's just try to build something as well. So let's get back to what I was saying about this. We want to get a queuing system in here, and I already started a bit with it last time. If you look at the types and you look at the state on the front end, the client state, we have this queue, which is a bunch of tracks. Now what I want to do, I'm going to add a little button here, or maybe I'll just add it like, I think in Spotify it's like a right mouse button, add to queue. But for now, I'm just going to do a left mouse button, I think. Just a simple... I'm just going to put a simple button in each of the rows. And then add things to the queue and see how that works. See if that works fine. And also, I probably need to also show the queue somewhere. Because right now, we're always showing this thing. But I kind of put an icon here, maybe, that shows the queue. Okay, let's just get started, right? Because we can always talk about stuff, but let's just build something, anything. Go to the client, go to the source, and go to the components for the track list. I think it's track list, yeah. Good, so here we've got the time, and here we've got, so in between here, we're gonna put a, we're gonna just put a div, and inside the div, we're gonna put a button. Is this a good way? Nah, it's another div. Last name, BG, green. I don't know. I don't want to keep using that same orange all the time. And then this will be like add to queue. This is not going to be very beautiful. In fact, I do want at least an icon. Maybe like plus Q. So maybe just like Q, and then we add the plus button. Now, how did I do a icon again? I've done a bunch in the player. I need to use font awesome icon. And then it's going to be FA plus, I imagine. Yeah. And then this was, oh, it's very simple. Just like this, and an icon equals that. That is very straightforward. So here's the plus. FA plus. Good. So we add to the queue. It's green. And then probably the text should be white. We want a hover effect too. Okay, that's great. And then rounded full. And then some padding on the sides. And it's weird, I said ML auto here. So you would think that this one goes to the left, but somehow, oh, yeah, this thing grows. Do I care about that? Yes, I do. I think what I'll just do is I'll move this thing in here, so I don't have to deal with that. And then I'll just make this a span, even though I'm a bit worried about that. In fact, should change this into a div. I generally never want to put a div inside of a span. I don't know, it just feels wrong. Good. Now, what's happening here? This is W full, so that's no longer, we no longer want that. We want to use flex again, so I guess, no, we don't want to use flex. I think the reason I did was, let's see what happens if I just do this. Yeah, this should be okay. I'm wondering how scalable this is, if the name is like a certain size or something, but I'll worry about all that stuff later. For now, I'm happy with this. And then let's see, text SM or something. XS? Yeah, it probably needs to be XS, but then the line height sucks. Or I can just make it PY1. I feel like the line height is not good, so that's like leading 0 or something, leading none. I don't think that helps. Okay, so not using vertical padding, I'm gonna use leading of like, say, 40 pixels just to see what it looks like. Yeah, that's, I mean, it's not okay, but I mean, it's clear that using leading is fine. But am I blind, or does it just feel this is not centered? Am I out of my mind? I think I'm out of my mind. Fuck. Right? Or what? That's not okay. All right, let's, I think it's because the icon is probably messing it up. So I'll just do flex here too and an item center. That way I'm like forcing it. Maybe I'm just blind. Maybe it finally happened. I finally lost my eyesight. Okay, class name. One is enough. Now we don't need to care about leading anymore. And I guess it could just be height. Yeah, now it's more centered, right? I don't know. Okay, and let's make sure that, so when you hover over this, of course, we want a lighter green. So hover green 600, cursor pointer, of course, all the classics. There, feels good. And now, I guess when you click on this, you don't want to show it in the side panel here. You just want to add it to the queue right away. So let's see if that works properly. We should be able to do an on click. And I don't know how many of you use this feature, but it's called stop propagation. Now I think this should just work fine for a React application, right? So yeah, it does. So stop propagation is, so the word propagate, by the way, this is why I think programming for people who are British or American is probably easier, because if you're not, then one of those words like propagate sometimes is annoying. So I'm Dutch, by the way, so I'm also not a native English speaker. And I definitely had to learn the word propagate. But if you already knew it, that would help a lot, because when you're programming and you realize what is propagation, propagation is if I click on this element here, the event will start from here and then go to the parent, and then go to the parent all the way until it's at the HTML node. I mean, it's not actually true because React works a little differently, but I mean, it does do it in the end that way. It's just the event listeners work slightly differently because of React, but don't worry about it. The reality is that if, as long as you're using React here and React here, then if I say stop propagation here, then the click will never come here. So I can now click here, but it doesn't open the sidebar. Great. But the double click, by the way, does, I just realized. And I don't want that either. So I'm gonna double click also needs to be stopped. Stop right there. There. So we're gonna not do anything. So I can click as much as I want on this queue and it doesn't do anything right now. But of course, we do want something to happen. We're gonna add this thing to the queue. So how are we going to add things to the queue? So we already have the word update, so we're fine. We're going to do update and then give it a partial state. So we're going to say queue, but now it's going to give back the queue. And oh, sorry, we don't have the queue in the state right now, so we have to add it. We want the queue. There we go. And then we're going to add our current track that you just clicked on. And we're going to do it with a spread operator. I think we did that before too, and I explained why. Because and I'm actually not too happy either about this, because, and I was discussing this before as well, that let's look at the types. Theoretically, instead of putting the actual track in here, I could have also just put the ID in here of the queue. But because I didn't, and I kind of just stuck to it, which I'm still not sure if I am happy with, but I don't want the exact piece of memory that represents the track in tracks to be repeated in queue, right? I want to get a fresh object. So an object that's not identical to the other one. So if you change one, you won't change the other, right? You know what I mean? Like, so what I do to do that, to make sure I don't accidentally leak the actual track object data into the queue, I do the spread operator that kind of shallow copies it. So it changes the actual kind of surrounding. It's like I'm getting all the guts out, all the information from the object, but I'm not taking the object itself. So if anyone changes the object, it doesn't affect the track, right? So that's why I do these 3 dots with track instead of just doing the simple thing, which would be to do this, right? I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this. I'm doing that. So there's a slight difference in how memory works that way. Again, you can think of this as like undressing the track and putting it into a new fresh object, even though all the properties are going to be there, right? Because I'm doing ... meaning all of the properties. It's taking all of them. Okay, so we're giving it a fresh jacket. Very nice. And we're doing the same with the queue. And that's even more important, right? To not reuse the same queue, but to give a new array. Because that way the system understands that it's updating this array to a new one, even though the content is going to be the same as the previous one, plus something added at the end. So the spread operator is very useful. And in the past, by the way, we didn't even have the spread operator. That's actually a new thing. I think it's even like ES6, like the latest ECMAScript definition. So in the past, we used to do this. Slice, we used to say. And if you hover over that, it also tells you returns a copy of a section of an array. And if you don't give any arguments, it's the entire thing, right? And it's a copy, but the content can still be is still the same, right? So it just copies it to a new fresh instance, which is very useful. And I don't know, this is to all you guys that have been in software development the longest. You've probably seen this. You've seen let's see if I can write it immediately. Queries element.query selector all, and then you would put something here like div, and then I mean this won't work because I'm not writing it in the right place, but it doesn't matter. I just want to show you that what we used to do is then do like slice. We said array, empty array, slice, call, put that thing here and close. And that, I don't know if any one of you has ever seen this, but and this would be like an actual, like some kind of div element that you had selected, or even the document query selector, or something like this. And because what you're doing here is very, I mean, I'm going a bit into the depth here, into the niches of weird old school programming that nowadays is not needed anymore. But then again, these are very useful functions. So call is a different way of executing a function. So instead of doing slice, yeah, I know this is horrible, but don't worry, we're going away from this because we're not going to write it like this. But it used to be done this way because a query selector all was a node list that looked like an array, but actually was not inherited from the array class. So you could not use any properties like whatever map or for each or I mean anything, find, right? It didn't exist. So we wanted to put everything that the query selector got into an array. So nowadays you could do it like this, which is still, nowadays you could use the spread operator. You could do this, right? But in the past you didn't have that. So what you did is you executed the call function of this empty array, but replaced the this with your fake array. So the this argument is the object that is used as the current object. So that's a very weird thing to do, right? Like it's like saying I'm taking the function slice from this empty array, but I'm not actually going to apply it to this empty array. I'm going to apply it to this different thing right here. Anyway, that's and there's a couple functions like this. There's call, there is .bind, and there is .apply. Those three, if you really want to get into advanced programming where you want to understand how this works and how you send references to functions and stuff like that, functional programming, these are the three functions you want to understand in case you've ever seen them before. At least you won't be surprised then. But luckily, thank God, we don't need to do that shit. Good. we're good. We can add to the queue. Now I'm gonna maybe log the queue because so I'm gonna put something here. Use effect. I'm only writing this use effect to tell me every time the queue changes. So just console log the queue. There we go. And now you see every time I click, I'm adding to the queue. And each of these objects is unique, right? It's not the same object. It has the same content, but it's not the same object. Very important. Okay, so that's good. Now we can go next and previous, and we can control the player, and we have at least some songs in our queue. So let's do that, right? So Spotify, I believe, has the left and the right. There should be like a skip song or next in the song. So let's do that. Let's go here where I have my big button. Here it is. This is my big button. Is it? This is flex call. So this is like these two. And then I got this button right in the middle. I don't want that. I mean, I'm fine with it, but I just need to put a little thing around it now. Because I want to horizontally now put some stuff in there. Okay, flex, item center as always. And then let's just immediately put those buttons there. And let's think about this. Is this like FA previous? I don't know what it is. So let's go to Font Awesome and pick the icon. Left. Can't go wrong with left. Free. I'm looking for that left with a line. You know what I mean? Like the line on the left side. It's not there. I mean, maybe just angle left. I guess that's the best we can do. Doesn't feel like, isn't it like something with skip previous? No. Maybe it's like not the free edition or something. But chevron left will do the job for now. Chevron left, I think, is the best. Could also give it a little background like this. I don't want to do that right now. Let's do chevron left. Chevron left. Okay, we have a chevron on the left and we have a chevron on the right. They don't have the right color. I think that's the problem now. We're gonna make them like 70% white or something. Yeah, that works. Let's just do everything here before then copying to the other. Well, instead of a margin left, let's make it a padding left. And I can actually also just put the padding on both sides. 2, 4. That's fine. H full, I guess. Just take the full. Oh, okay. That's not okay. But I do want it to be a bit bigger. So let's do PY of maybe 2. I don't know. 4. No, that's too much. 3. 3 is good, right? 2. Oh, no, 2 is better. I don't want it to push anything down. It should be small enough. I should just check it like this. Yeah, this seems fine. Yeah, that's okay. Nice big area to click on. You always want to give users enough space. In fact, if you're ever going to make an iOS app for any of you guys, it has rules around the size of the area. And if I remember correctly, the last time I read those guidelines, it was like 44 by 44 or something was the minimum amount of pixels that any clickable area in a iOS app must be. Very interesting. Like they, and that's not on a Retina. On the Retina would be like a double, I guess, 88. But it's like really important because that gives enough space for the thumb of the user to click it, right? So there's rules around that, and your app can actually be denied into the Apple Store if you break that guideline, which I think is kind of nice. Like Apple really does try to care for the user in that way, and then they charge $100 to every developer every year. They're trying whatever they can to fuck over the developer, or at least make it harder so they don't put shitty code shitty apps in the hands of iOS users, and they want to keep that sense of quality for their users, which makes sense because those users have overpaid for their hardware so much that the least they can get back is a little bit of protection from Apple. Okay, so that's good, but now, oh, I forgot. When you hover, then we want the text to be white. So you get... Okay, so now we have our buttons. Now, sometimes it'll be disabled, right? Like sometimes you want to, if there is nothing... It's interesting, like how does it work with the queue? Because I thought at first that I'm just gonna clear the queue as soon as the thing has been played. Okay, this is actually really interesting, I think. So I'm gonna do something very interesting now. Okay, let's go to the types and explain what I'm thinking about. So this is an array of tracks, right? I want the first track in this array to always be I want the first track in this array to always be the track that is playing right now or about to be played, right? The one that's queued up to go, literally. But I want to also store the one that was in the past. So I'm going to just store that one at the end of the array. Which makes sense because if people turn on the loop button, then you want that, right? You go next, 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 and you just loop, you just keep looping, right? So that's a good approach. But now the thing is, what if people don't want to loop, right? And they just want to end when the queue is filled. In that case, we want to have when we add something to the queue, and it is the first one, we want to kind of mark it. Okay, so we're gonna need, and now it actually works out really well that I did a track object in this queue, but we have to make it a bit different. We're gonna export a new type, and this is what I'm gonna call a queue track, which obviously is going to be a track. So we'll do track, but it's gonna be more than that. It's gonna have something extra. It's gonna have optionally, I think I'll just make it optional. Yeah, why not? And it'll say something like first. I mean, again, I'm not sure if this will be later the case, but this will be first, and it's always going to be a true. If it is given, it's true. So, yeah, I think it's fine. So, when I now populate a queue, and I know this one is actually the first, I'll give it that first true property. And then when I am looping through the song and I'm about to loop and I see, oh wait, this one was first, if the next one is first, I won't play it unless looping is true. That sounds very complicated. Not that complicated, but we'll see. So for now, just see how I use this union type, right, to say that this thing is a track and more. So if I now hover over this, it says like track and more, but yeah, we'll see later how that works out. And now I can put that over here in the queue, right? So it's not a track anymore, it's a queue track. And that should just be fine because it already had all the properties of track, and this is an optional property that I added. So nothing is different. This is all okay. At least I think it shouldn't break anything. Good. So now, what is the rule here? I need to when I add something to the queue, there were a couple places where I did that. Let's look at queue. Every place where I did queue. Currently, we can actually the code is still small enough that I can see that. Here, we're just looking at the queue, and we're not really doing anything with the queue. So that's easy then. Go away. Here, here we're putting play track. Why are you reinventing wheels? What do you mean, Sunpreet? Why am I reinventing wheels? Just download Spotify, man. Stop programming. I agree, man. Let's stop. Let's just stop it right here. But First, true. What do you want me to stop reinventing? You want me to use a library or something, right? Something like that? What do you want me to stop reinventing? So if I now double click a song, which plays the track, it resets the queue, which is very nice, right? And then puts the thing on first. So now it understands that this was the first one in the queue. So every time it resets the queue completely, it sets first properly. That's very important. Now, there's also this other thing I did below here, and I'm gonna have to pull that out now, this one. So that one I'm gonna call append queue, which I guess is the right name for that. Const append queue is use callback. Oh, okay. Some pretty saying, why don't you instead make a better app than Spotify? And you know, that's actually definitely the plan, right? But to get to better, I think we should first get to, you know, something similar. And I say Spotify a lot, but that's just because the brand is strong and people understand what I mean. But honestly, I'm not building really completely Spotify. We're going to build a music player, right? Music app, and then we're gonna think ourselves about what to do. Like, I really like when the lyrics is added, right? So you can see the lyrics as the song plays. I was thinking about definitely doing that, and maybe even putting in like an editor for that, so someone can really like type what they hear and when it plays, and kind of make an editor so you can really, you know, help create more lyrics files and maybe add discussions to it, add a social layer to it. I mean, we could literally be building the most crazy shit ever in this app. Like, I'm not against that at all. That would be a lot of fun. But yeah, in order to make it better, we should at least get a little close to, you know, what it really is. So here we see that an onClick is a mouse event handler, React mouse event handler of an HTML div. That's great, but I want to even go further and see what that type is that comes in. Mouse event. Mouse event of an HTML div element. That's what this is. Thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, I'm gonna try my best. And again, if you have suggestions on how to make it better, you know, let me know. And by the way, the guy before was asking about, you know, junior programmers, what is our future here, or what is programmers' future in general? And I think that for a lot of people, and I've seen this before already in industry quite a lot, they start to switch more towards product definition instead of programming, which is a different job. I agree, but it's actually kind of natural to come at it from a programmer's perspective, because remember, my daily job, I listen to the product owner, and that product owner tells me this is what I want in my app, right? And then I go build it. So I'm the builder. I'm the guy who's going to decide how are we going to get this done. But what are we getting done is a different story, but it is a very good thing to try to answer. Yeah, exactly, Ergo. He's saying that, yeah, you gotta start from somewhere, and that's true, and that's exactly how I'm thinking too. But that's all cool. I mean, we all mean the same thing here. But why is this not getting imported properly? Yeah, see, that's so annoying. Mouse event is already defined as a global in an HTML, but that's not the one I want. I want the one from React, so it gives you errors if you don't. Anyway, no problem. We're all good. And now this track is giving me problems, and I wonder why. So this append queue needs to know the track. No, of course not. It doesn't know the track. This came, yeah, guys, this is a little annoying. This track came from the loop that we were in. So we can't actually really define it like this. Unless we make it like a generator, which is kind of trash. I guess we do have to do that. No, we don't. No, I'm gonna just Control Z this. I didn't realize correctly that this was the case. So we're just gonna, sorry. Or not. No, we're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it, and we're just gonna say, look, I want the element and I want the track. There we go. Straightforward. And you're just gonna have to give it to me, and then here I'll add the queue. That's all good. And then instead of appending queue, so now because I want this variable here that is scoped, see here on line 38, that scope I need this value, and it doesn't exist on the outer scope, right? So I need to actually change this, and this will get the event and then append the queue, give both values that I need, and there you go. So it's not as optimal, right? Because every time this component renders, it will regenerate this tiny function. But that's okay, right? It's better than just putting everything here. It's a little more organized, and it's fine. It's fine. And we need that local variable. So this is probably the best option for now. And now the thing is, this is very important. We are adding this dot queue, but sometimes there won't be a queue yet, right? And so I'm going to check. This one might be the first. Oh, and also one thing we're going to change. Instead of saying that this value is true, I'm going to say Boolean. Because I also want to be able to say false. So I can just very quickly here say queue length. And let's think about the logic here. If queue length is 0, then first is true, right? So this should be good. Because a 0 gets converted to false, which then with the exclamation mark gets converted to true. And then if the length is anything more than 0, it'll be first false, which is exactly what it is. So now we've added this, and this looks good. And so if I click on add bum, this should be first true. But if I add a second one, this second one now first false. Hallelujah, we did it. So this is nice because now I can go, let's see, now it becomes a little interesting because we're gonna have to loop through things. And now when it comes to an array and looping, there is one thing that's really important to understand, which is the modulus operator. Like with modulus, you can do a lot of cool stuff. Because when I go back, I actually want to go, this is too hard to explain in words. I mean, it's like I have to explain it when I get there, not beforehand. Even though to program it, you have to understand it kind of completely beforehand. But I hope that you'll see what I mean soon. Shit, like my explanation skills, I still have to work a little harder on this. And it's not that complicated. Don't worry. Like it's not. Once you see it, you'll be like, oh, no problem. But let's see. So we're gonna have this front and back buttons, right? So we want those clickable. Did we already do something on those? This is the track list. I need to go to the player. Where are we? Volume. These were the buttons, right? And we don't have any click handlers on them yet, so they don't do anything yet. So let's say on click. And I think previous is really the hard one. So maybe let's start at the easy one. And also I'm going to say, so this is previous prev track. Or something like go back, go prev. Maybe. Go prev and on click. Go next. Feels kind of like logical names, I guess. Where's my callbacks? Here. Const go prev. Man, the amount of functions here are starting to explode. Like it's getting a little unreadable almost. Might have to move some stuff to like a hook, like make a little player hook or something. But for now, let's just suffer a little bit. I feel like if you're a programmer, you need to know to suffer a little bit. And to be honest, guys, how many lines of code? 230. We're not yet at threshold of pain that I can handle. Like, come on. We can still suffer a little more together. So, if I go to the previous, that means I'm going to look at the queue. And I'm going to take the last one from that queue. So first of all, I need a copy of the queue to do that. So we're going to do it over this, right? I'm going to say const update equals a copy of the queue. That's great. But then we're going to const grep is the update.pop. We're gonna pop, and what is pop, right? Pop is removes the last element from the array and returns it, right? So that's great. That's what we want. We want this value from the end and put it back. But it does have to exist. So let's just say, first of all, if the queue length is 0, or actually you can better say if there is no queue length, then just return. We don't want to do anything. And also, of course, here we listen to the queue. Now we pop it from the end and then we shove it into the beginning. So that is, well, I'm going to do that differently, I guess. No, why not? I think it's unshift, if I remember correctly. There's always, there's one unshift that I'm always inserts new element at the start of an array. Yeah, that's the one. So, and I'm going to write it as a one-liner. So I'm going to say there. Update, unshift, update pop. Fantastic. And the way this is evaluated, by the way, is that this inner one is evaluated before, of course, this one is, because this one requires that one as an argument. So this is actually the correct order. It will do this one first, pop it, and then unshift it right away. I think, I hope. Like, I nowadays really feel like there is a TypeScript compiler in my head. Someone asked before, like, how many languages do you know? And I can tell you, I've worked with like garbage like Erlang, PHP, a little bit of Java, some C, some C++, some C Sharp, which is kind of like Java. But I've never really worked with that. It was just like I was forced to do it in a project at school or some nonsense like that. I can tell you that my entire life I have focused on JavaScript and then TypeScript when it came out, because I really don't believe in the thing where programmers say, oh, every language is just a tool and I can use whatever because that a good engineer picks the right tool for the right job. Like, and I'm like, bitch, yes, that's true, but you know, companies do that. Companies pick the right tool for the right job, and then they hire the guy who knows that tool the best. Like, motherfucker, why do you know 10 languages? Like, that makes no sense, because every language really wants to be written in a certain way. And yeah, okay, if you're very, very talented, go ahead, learn every language. But the nuance of a language, the details, they matter at the higher level, especially if you want to be fast. Remember, I don't care about making good software. I care about making good software fast. So it helps if you've done it literally for 20 years. Then you're gonna go so fast, right? So I really don't believe in do every language. I believe if I was a new programmer nowadays, I would do a little bit of Python just to know it, right? It's a very simple language anyway. And then I would focus again on TypeScript. Like, that to me is the #1 language because it's so versatile. You can do everything with it. So there's a lot of job opportunities everywhere. And now with the serverless code, that's all Node.js everywhere. So it's such a fantastic choice, right? And the resources in terms of libraries is so large. But that's also the reason why Python is so good, because in some regards, in some fields, Python has the best libraries, right? In some of them, not all, definitely not all, but in some of them, Python is massive. And I really do appreciate Python. I think it looks very beautiful. But again, I would prefer to focus on one language, become an expert, and then sell yourself an expert because you want to make money, right? Like, I've never understand that people who come in and say like, oh, I just want to do programming. It's so fun. It's like, yeah, it's fun, but it's even more fun if you also get paid. Like, then you can really do it all the time, right? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, have a part-time job and do some programming on the side for free for yourself for fun? I've never seen that as something that I want to do. It's not sustainable. Like, I want to be programming 8 hours a day. Somebody needs to pay me because I need to eat. Anyway, so, but funny that I say that while I'm streaming for probably no money. So, clearly I'm not doing everything for money, but I'm saying, especially for new programmers, man, try to get paid for your work, right? That's going to really boost you into becoming really professional. I mean, that's the definition of professional. Okay, so rant over, continue this previous button. Update, queue, unshift, yes, great. We got the last song. or the thing at the end, we now put at first, right? So that's great, and I think, but now, so the question is looping on or off, right? For now, we're just going to assume that looping is always true. So you can loop infinitely, right? For now. So I'm just going to say update, and what do we want to update? We want to update the queue, and that's it, right? Queue track has no call signatures. Oh shit, I called it update here. That's not supposed to be upload. Maybe payload or something. There you go. Queue is payload. There, and then the update function itself also needs to be put in the dependency array. There you go. Good. Now I should be able to add some things to the queue. Let's give them different icons so I can see. And if I click previous, see the array stays the same size, but we're just changing the position of the track. Great, that's good. So the backwards is working. And remember, we're only going backwards one, so I don't even need to do modulus or anything difficult currently. For now, we're doing it the simple way, so that's actually great. And then here, this is like the same except the opposite way, so queue length, payload, yes. So now we shift it and we what was it again? God, now I forgot the other word. Pop, shift, push, of course. Man, I forgot the word that is like the most common. Push is where you append a new element at the end, and we're shifting it away from the first. Yeah, that's correct. I think this is fine. So let's see. This. Oh, why is this not working? Oh, my dependency array is empty. Oops. Oops. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Tick, 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 tick. Very good. We're here. Our buttons work. Now we're going to think about looping, because that's really where I want to do the interesting stuff. And I never even really got to modulus. And the reason why I don't have to get to modulus is because we're not skipping more than one. I hope there will be a use case later where I have to show rotation, like real looping with multiple skips, because then you have to use some really cool logic that I want to show, but for now, let's just keep using the simple logic that we've written here. That's actually better. I'm also thinking about something else. Look, we need to know whether we want to show this button as clickable or disabled, like barely visible disabled. Because in the beginning, if I load this app fresh and there's nothing loaded, I want this to be, you know, almost gone. So let's make a memo. Where should we make that? Here, there's a memo. Let's make a memo for this. And let's say, yeah, what will it be? It'll be something like clickable or disabled. Disabled? Yeah, disabled is fine. And let's create some logic here that says previous or go prev, which is going to be, so for instance, disabled is false, go prev, go next, false. Now nothing would be disabled, right? Now, what are we going to look at? We're going to look at the queue. Okay, so let's think about this. When can I not go to the previous value? Of course, if the queue length, there is no queue length, then we are disabled. Okay. What else? There is a queue length, but the first one is the one that we are currently on. If this is the first, you can't go back unless you're looping. But again, the looping logic we're going to add later, but that's the looping. If you turn on looping, everything changes, right? So that's, we'll do that later. We'll first do this. So Q0, we know Q0 exists because Q length, wait, do we? Yeah, because if there was no Q length, we'd already return, right? So once we get here, we know that Q0 will be there. And then we can say dot first. Now that one might not exist, so it could be undefined. So we have to say, and let's see, if it is first, then it is disabled. So we want 2 exclamation marks just to turn an undefined into false. We don't want to invert the value because it is actually the correct value. If first is true, then gopref is disabled. I mean, it makes sense, I think, probably, hopefully. Good. So, and now let's go for the go next. This is interesting because now we need to do the opposite. We need to look at it. We can't go next if the next value is supposed to be the first, because we never want to complete the loop, right? That's how it works, right? Like if you go next, then the first value will go to the end, and then slowly it'll work its way up back to the front, right? Because if you keep going next, then the value, the track that you're on keeps getting removed from the beginning and put onto the end. So slowly you're rotating. And until eventually that first one is coming, right? It's on its way. So actually it's different. We simply can look at if the Q1 is first, then we can't do it because that's the next one. This is why I really like using that Q, like having the number 0 be the one that plays, because it's very predictable. Like you can really put in your mind how things work. I think this is fine. I think this would work. I think probably, maybe, hopefully. Let's think again. If the next one is the first, then yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. So now we can go to these 2 buttons. Where are they? Here. And now, okay, so again, I explained this last stream, but this is a very important thing. We want to use something called TW merge. Because TW merge is a function that allows you to override previously defined Tailwind classes. So for instance, right, the first classes I've defined are here. But now I have a condition where disabled.go, what is this, go next. If this is true, question mark. If this is if go next is true, then that means it's disabled, right? So we want to go pointer events none. Actually, that's a bit of a trick. Maybe let's not do that trick. Maybe let's say, actually it is a really good trick. It defeats the point of what I was saying about TW merge. Because look, let me first finish my point then, like just for an explanation. Because if I now say cursor default, right? Normally, if you write your if-else statements, it would be really complicated and you would have to, it's even harder with like padding left or something, right? Like now, like you have a PX here, you want to override with PL, but you don't, like it's hard to do this. You'd have to put this one here and then put PT4 because you don't want to change that. So it's actually very complicated, but by using TW merge, you can give any class here and it will take precedence. It will override the specific value that you're defining from the values that were already defined, right? So, and it's in a row. So, and let me just do this right here, like this. So TW merge is a very nice function. Like, look, like it's just in one big line right now, but that's okay. It's just some CSS. But yeah, you can see very clearly how we can just override values like this. But okay, now, why does that not matter that much? Well, it matters a little, but I can first do pointer events none, and this will already make sure that this cursor pointer will not trigger because the pointer event never fires. When you hover over it, the browser is going to act like it didn't exist, like there is nothing that you're clicking on. Even if you right mouse click it, you can never inspect it. It simply doesn't exist when it comes to the mouse because I say pointer events none. This value, pointer events none, used to come from like SVG. It was used only in SVGs. And then later I noticed, and I was one of them, programmers that started using it for every kind of element because it's so useful to say Just don't count this entire object as being part of something you could possibly click on, which in the case of disabled is very useful. But I also want to update the text white and make it really low, like 20, like almost not there. And this is really nice. Now you can see automatically, I don't have to think about it. This text white 70 will be replaced with this text white 20 because of TW merge. And I don't have to manually keep track of which values I'm overwriting over here, right? It's automatically done for me. So very useful function. Okay, so copy this entire thing and then change everything to prev instead of next. Maybe that's a bit too much. I think just the class name is enough. So let's go here. No, sorry. Where are we? Here. Take this class name, replace it, and then go prev. Okay, hope all the work did something. So this is great. See, no pointer event, no hover, and I add to the queue. Oh, and everything crashes. Cannot read property of undefined reading first. Okay, so this is player 38. I guess I didn't double check something. If there is no queue length, that's right. Okay, yeah, because there's only one value. So for 0 it's fine, because when I say if there's no queue length, then 0 must exist. That's true, but 1 of course doesn't have to exist, and in this case it doesn't exist. But it also creates this issue. Oh, this actually kind of a serious issue, because am I not supposed to say that you can't go next? If this one doesn't exist, if Q1 doesn't exist, then I want to grab Q0, right? Because that's automatically then the first, unless you're looping. Okay, never mind. I'm talking bullshit. Let's just fix it, question mark, and we move on. This is great, right? I added 1 to the queue, and the right mouse button popped up. I click. Yeah, that's strange. Like, yeah, you can go next, but it doesn't do anything. I'm building a music player, Rudra. I'm trying to see. So here we have a queue. I need to put this even lower. So we have a queue, and I can change the volume, and I can navigate, and I can click on tracks to read their data. And I'm loading this from a server. I mean, I'm just slowly building my way up to like a general music player. And we're gonna add all kinds of craziness, like probably like music uploads and maybe rating systems, reviews, whatever the fuck we want, right? But I'm thinking about what to do here, because clearly I'm not supposed to click on next, I guess. And it's also weird, because isn't the next one the first? Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna have to do if there is no next, or there is no Q1 first. So, sorry, I should do this. Add 1. Yeah, see, I still can't go next or forward, because I only added 1, but if I add 2, yeah, this is now it's working like a normal. Yeah, like I'm building my own Spotify thing. Yeah, well, again, I'm saying Spotify, but it's not going to be Spotify. It's going to be a music app, yeah, it's just as a demo, by the way, guys. I don't need this app. Nobody needs this app. This app is not meant for production. This is really just an app that I'm building to put the source code online for anyone to see, because like most of the code I write, I can never share with anyone, right? Because it's always for companies and I get paid to build it. But I really feel like it's nice to be able to put some good code out there that is public, that anybody can use. And if I'm not getting paid for it anyway by anyone, and no one is telling me what to build, then I can just stream it, right? And I can just ask you guys what we're going to build, and I can talk about how to build things. And the whole idea is that eventually we have this source code that's online on my GitHub. Anyone can download, and it's a really nice, useful app. And you can, for instance, take it as a starting point, copy it, and then strip everything out that you don't like, and keep what you like, and then build your own app, right? Like, because that's the best way to do programming. It's like, I think there's even this SpongeBob meme where he says, Squidward or something is asking like, how did you draw this perfect circle? And he says, well, it's simple. I just started with like the most beautiful painting ever, and then I removed everything except the circle. And of course, it's an amazing joke when you're just doing a normal drawing, right, on paper. But for software engineering, you can literally do it that way. You can take something that's very nice, sculpt it over hours and hours and days, and then just remove what you don't like. It's so much easier to remove something than it is to add things that you don't know were missing, right? So yeah, and I really recommend people to, especially if you don't already have a code base that you own, that you know, where you have been responsible for, that has grown on you and you've stared at for hours. You guys, I can probably answer every question about this app without looking at this code. Like I can probably, about variable names and about whatever the structure is happening, because I've been staring at this code for too long, right? So that's really my goal of this stream, is for people to, just like me, stare at this code, ask questions if you want, download the code if you want, and then really own it. And I think if you already have a project like that yourself, you don't need to do this, right? You can just enjoy but focus on your own project and own it and understand it fully. And then you can take it with you every time you build something new. Okay, hey, wait a minute. We just got to the end of the song, and it didn't automatically go to the next in the list. And also, this distance is a little bit too small because the final button is so huge. So let's fix both those things and add the features. First, a little bit of distance. That's just a little CSS fix. It happens in the progress. Here we did a PL of 2. I think a PL of 3 is probably all that we need. Let's add to the queue, go to the end. Yeah, that's fine. But if we add PL3, then we also need a PR3 over here. Yeah, that's great. Done with that. And now, okay, when we reach the end of the song, we immediately want to switch to the next song. So how do we recognize that we're at the end? Well, we have a percentage sign that's continuously being calculated. Maybe that's the right place to do it. Have you taken any kind of help from AI tools like GPT or Gemini? Yes, sometimes I write something in Gemini. For instance, when I was writing the server over here, I forgot all the names of the course headers, because it's always like, you know, these ones. You want to kind of remember exactly which ones, and you want kind of normal values that you expect. And I asked Gemini for it, but I mean, it wasn't correct. Like, it gave an allow origin of a star as an example, but I know for post request that wouldn't work, because a post request cannot have a cross origin, cannot have an allow origin header of star. It has to be specific. So I actually just with JavaScript filled in the header origin that came from the app, so that you always get the right response. And also, of course, I asked for these headers. It also added one header I don't need, like a max age header, which is not needed for me, because I'm sending everything without any caching. So yeah, you know, it's a great tool, guys. I mean, it has changed programming forever, LLMs, and I think they kind of still suck right now. They suck so much right now that I don't like to have them in my editor. I tried to add like, maybe it's somewhere here, some extension for Copilot or something, but it's, guys, these things suck so hard. It never does what I want it to do. And the code it writes is so trash. Like, it writes if-else statements in such a stupid way and stuff. So I'm not currently that happy about how it works. But that's just because, you know, I'm a little bit nitpicky about how I write my code, like a little bit. But over time, I am 100% sure, like within a year from now, that will be doing like an amazing job programming, and I can just sit here, probably just talk to the AI, and the AI is going to write all the code. I'm just going to sit here and read it. Very much like how you guys are now reading my screen. That's how your job is going to be probably in the future, right? You just sit there, sometimes write in the chat like, hey, motherfucker, change this. And then, you know, the AI will be like, sorry, sir. Updating everything. So I'm like your AI right now, guys. I'm a very slow, very useless AI. Let's go. So what are we doing? We are going to automatically go to the next one once we've reached the end. Now here we are updating the seconds played. That's great, but there's also a place where we check the progress. Yeah, here it is, progress. Played progress. So we know that eventually played progress should be exactly the same. It should just be 1, because this is a percentage. It's a number, but it's from 0 to 1. Oh no, it's from 0 to 100, right? We do times 100. Yeah, seconds played divided by track length times 100. So yeah, if this is 100, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just add a use effect. Now this is the first time where I feel like we might want a comment, like if, like, automatically play next song in queue. I do think we need that. Yeah. So we need to know the queue, we need to know the played progress. That's great. And then if the played progress, if played progress is not 100, then we're done. We don't care. See, an AI would never write it like this. An AI would say like this: if it is 100, then go this. La 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 la, right? That's what an AI would almost ever do. But I hate that, because now you're an additional, I mean, hate is a strong word. I don't hate it, but I'm just thinking this is not as optimal. Because you're writing inside of an indentation, and then you have another if statement, and now you're writing 2 layers deep, and now it's like, man, what are you doing? Like, are you a programmer or what? You think of it differently, right? You have to say, hey, I'm going to filter the incoming thing, and as soon as it's useless to me, like here, if it's not 100, then it's useless to me. So then go away, return. Boom. Next if statement, right? Boom. And so we stay, and then again, we invert it and we write return. And so we end up with this code, right? Which is so much cleaner, right? There's not a single, one of these, what's it called? The curly braces. There's no curly braces in here. There's just guards. Like, what I love to see is purple here and purple here, right? Flow statements, like in a while loop. I love seeing if X continue. Wow, that's so great. If Y break. Like, this is great. Return, continue, break, control the flow, right? Don't just if else yourself to victory, right? Control the flow. And even more importantly, imagine you have a bunch of if statements. Sometimes it's way nicer to just make an object. I hope to show this later in some example. To go here, make an object, say like la la la, this, la la la, this, and then just say somewhere in your if statement, if, and then this would be, for instance, SSS, whatever. Guys, I'm just giving a very quick example, but it would be like SSS, something you care about, and then you're done, right? So that you hide it in here. Or you can even turn this into functions and execute this like that, right? So this is way cleaner, so you can just write return, right? And then it doesn't even take you multiple. A lot of programmers don't apply this method, and they don't apply the return values properly. So then, then you get very, very dirty code. And I have to say that right now, LLMs make that kind of shitty code. They don't yet do it perfectly. Unless, of course, you simply ask them. If you tell them, like, use as many return statements as you can and never use an else statement, or then it will do it right? But it just takes a while to type. But you should still maybe try that out if you want to have good code. Okay, played progress is not 100, so we're returning. And now we want to go to the next song played, which is the same as, what is it, that function I already have? Play next. What's it called? Play. Go next, right? Go next. Yeah, it's called go next. So that's great. Go next. And of course we have to remember to put this function in here, and we can replace it with the queue because we don't use the queue directly. Go next relies on the queue, but that's fine because as soon as the queue updates, go next will update, and then this one will run. So very simple. And now that we see how easy this is, that it's literally just one function, then we can actually just write it in one line. We don't even need the return value here, but that's just in this case. But that's really nice. Like, this is a very clean. And then I even put a little comment in here to really drive home the point what this does. Maybe automatically go next. Play the next track, at least use the same word. Okay, let's see. If I now hit the road. Oh, just a second, guys. All right, we're back. Good, so did it play? No. What? Did it? No. Because people is the next one. I guess it never completely goes to 100. That could be an issue. No, I mean, yeah, I've worked... No, I haven't worked with Vue. It was Svelte. I've worked with Angular, Svelte, and a lot with React. And I made my own framework once, years ago. But never Vue, no. It's kind of weird. It's like the only one I haven't done. Out of all the big players, at least. Okay, why didn't this work? Let's just log it. Because I guess it maybe never reaches like that perfect number 100. Let's see. Oh, it goes above 100. That's weird. Why does it do that again? I guess the exact amount of seconds I wrote is not the length of the track. Because it like rounds it maybe? Oh, that's a bit worrisome because maybe in some cases... Okay, you know what? Let's assume that it doesn't round, but that it floored it. So my track length is not always exactly that. And also, now we have to be a bit careful because as soon as I say go next, I don't want to execute this twice. I want to be very careful, and I'm worried that it might execute immediately again. But then again, played progress. I need to update the played progress first before I go next. I want to put that on 0. So played progress, and we're not dragging. We're not dragging. There is a track, so it has to be just seconds played. And that has to be just on 0. So I just want to update this before I go next. So now, again, if this is not, say, no, if played progress is lower than 99%, 99% is enough. I think that should be fast enough. Okay. So we're going to say if we're lower than 99%, then we're not interested, then we're going to return. There we go. And now this one goes up. And now before I even go next, I'll just quickly already put the update function in there. Update seconds played. Oh, yeah, seconds played 0. That should stop this from, that makes played progress the next cycle. Played progress should be 0. So then it will never execute this twice, hopefully. Hopefully. Let's leave this console log here and see if everything works out well. Because now it should only log once per thing. Sidhunt asks, how often do I stream? Well, I started this week, or actually like in the weekend. So I haven't figured out yet in my life like how often I want to stream, how long. I don't know how long this one has been. It's kind of a couple hours, I guess. But I'm thinking that maybe I'm gonna try to even do it like almost daily, like from say 5 to 8 or something like that, like 3 hours. Maybe in the weekend, or maybe I'll just sometimes grab a night. I'm not sure how consistent I'm able to be. I want to grow the channel. So obviously consistency is going to help a lot with that. But it also just depends on my interest, what I want to do, how tired I am, whatever. So I don't know yet how consistent I'll be able to be. I definitely have to hit the gym still, but I can go at 8. So, okay. For now, let's leave this be. We're done. We're gonna test this. I already saved it. So 1, 2, 3. Go to the end. It worked, but it feels like it's definitely going too fast. I'm definitely gonna say 100. 100% makes sense. I think for now we're just gonna keep it like that. That's it. And I think, oh sorry, I forgot to look correctly. Let's clear the logs, go to the end, and see if this only logs once. Yeah, it only logs once. That's great, man. Yeah, I hope I can give a lot of content to you guys and really try to give you the kind of understanding, the kind of training that I don't think universities really provide. At least when I went to university, it sucked. Like these guys didn't know how to program whatsoever. Like the professors, I mean. Holy shit. Like it was so unbelievably tragic. And then I realized that was actually in the West. Like I realized, for instance, in the Philippines, it sucks even harder. Like they're all doing like this fake computer science shit that no one is actually doing in like it's not even computer science. It's like some bit fake version, like the PHP programming that a lot of nonsense. And then sometimes you have to do these weird random database things nobody's doing either. None of it has any industrial like relevance to industry and what you really need to do if you want to build a successful app nowadays. So I think yeah, I really want to start this stream from kind of an education perspective, but I don't know if that's necessarily where we're gonna go with the stream. Like it will really depend on what people are gonna do and what the feedback will be. Like this is just what I'm gonna do as a start, because I'm always very comfortable with talking and programming at the same time, or at least like switching and just chilling and kind of hanging out with code. So yeah, I think I'm good for streaming. Um, Good, so now we have a working thing. Towards the end, it should really only go when it's really on 13. I would accept 212 too. Yeah, that's great. Right as it becomes to 13, it goes to the next. But go next, does this always fires now, right? But what if the next one is disabled? It will always try to do it. So now it's always looping. Yeah. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna use this other thing, disabled, and we're gonna say if no disabled dot go next. So basically we're gonna use the same value that we already used for the interface, like you can't click on the button. If you can't click on the button, then it will also not automatically click on the button, which makes sense. We're reusing the logic. And that way later when we do looping, we only have to put that in the disabled stuff. Like that will define whether you can click on stuff and whether it will automatically go. Everything will be based on that one place, because that's going to be the danger in this app. How often do we have to repeat logic? Now, I'm not the kind of programmer that's so extreme that's like, oh, if I have to repeat myself even just one time, I'm going to completely refactor everything. Like, no, I'm not going to lose my mind with this. But when I can see things like this, where I can reuse disabled, which is already a perfectly calculated, complicated, object, then I will, because then I don't have to put all that logic again here. Okay, so let's try it out. Let's say I have a value. Let's go again. So now I have 2. So the first time it should go. But now the second time it should not. It should just stop, I guess. It's at the end of the queue. I should have let go of the mouse a bit later. Yeah, okay, so that's interesting. It does put this player back to 0, which I'm actually, of course, doing here. Do I want that? I think I do. That's standard, right? To go back to 0? No, or just leave it full. What if you click on play? I don't know. That's actually also weird. Like I'm at the end. I put played back to 0, but it's not automatically playing anything because it just ends at the end. Yeah, that's logical. I think I'm happy with this. I'm just happy. I'm happy with this. This is fine. This is okay. Now we're gonna add the logic for looping because that's of course the big. Now I know that looping comes in different states. There is loop the current queue, right? Yeah, loop the queue, I guess. Actually, this is a question in Spotify I don't know. Imagine I have a playlist, right? And I play a song in the playlist. Automatically, the queue will be filled with all the other songs in the playlist. I know that. But if I add a song to the queue and I keep the loop selected, right? So it's looping. Will it include that track that I added outside of the playlist to the current queue? Will it also loop that? Or will it loop over just the playlist and the next circle it won't include it in the queue? That's kind of these kind of questions I really don't know. And I mean, of course I could open Spotify right now and test it out, but I'm thinking that actually what I'm gonna do is just say, look, if you say queue, if you say loop, it will loop the queue. That's it. It will not just loop the playlist, it'll loop the queue. And by default, if you just play one song of the playlist, it added all the other songs in that playlist to the queue. So that's why it would normally just loop through those. I think that's fine. That logic is okay. So we're going to have to just make a decision there. Okay, so now let's add a loop icon. Loop. I really like this one. But why is there no loop icon? I guess infinity? Infinity? I like the infinity sign for looping. I don't think that's usually used, but I really like it. Infinity. Yeah. Why not? Huh? Now, where should that button be? I guess it's on the right of the next button. I guess, I assume, maybe, probably, hopefully. Is there anything on the left? Because if there's not, then we've got a problem because this thing is centered perfectly. I mean, it's not a huge issue. We just have to add some margin or something. Oh, repeat is on the left. Let me just cheat real quick. Yeah, of course. Actually, no. It's, the repeat, like the looping, the repeating is on the right, but the shuffle is on the left. Don't tell Spotify that I checked their head. They're gonna sue me into the ground. And again, it's not just Spotify. You know what? From now on, we should call it SoundCloud. I think SoundCloud's probably less brand worried than Spotify is. I don't know. But they have a good web player too, which also shows the volume at which level and stuff. That would be so cool to do. And I think there's a web API to do that. But that's for later, but it's very exciting. Okay, so we want to do shuffle and we want to do loop. Oh, okay, that's what you meant. Repeat. Oh, that makes sense. I was looking for loop, but yeah, I'm gonna use repeat. You're right. You're right. You're right. Let's not try to make something fancy and new that nobody knows. Infinity, even though infinity is a very cool symbol, I want to kind of do something that people expect. So copying this entire value, boom, and say, when you click, so you're going through 3 states, right? There is loop, don't loop, first of all. Then there is loop the queue, and then there's loop this one song. And that's all shoved into one button. So, and I'm gonna call it repeat, I guess. So yeah, I'm just gonna call it repeat. That's it. I don't think, is it ever disabled? No, right? You can always click on this button. I mean, maybe if there is no queue, right? That's the classic. Or if there is no track. Like if there's no track, we can say, we can show that. Okay, this is fine. And this is FA repeat. Thanks for the icon suggestion. Okay, then here we go with the other side. There is a go previous, and before that we will do a shuffle. FA shuffle, I guess. Yep. We're gonna call that shuffle, and that one is just on or off, and it's the same thing with no track. Okay, I'm very happy. So repeat and shuffle are the two things we need. And then we're also, oh wait, we do need to add more values to like the colors and how things turn on. But let's just first build a repeat and the shuffle and make that error go away. Where do I have my use callback? Over here. Oh man, the amount of callbacks is starting to get very annoying. I definitely think we need to move to a hook. Maybe it's time to do that now, right? Like, yeah, yeah, let's do it now because it's starting to get too annoying. It really is. So we're just gonna move, I guess, only the callbacks. So use play use playback. Maybe just use player. No, use playback. Use controls. Then you can ask yourself, okay, well, which controls? But actually my answer to that is like, yeah, but this is a music app. There is only one set where the controls are, right? Like, let's be real. So it's fine. Use controls. I like how kind of small that sounds. So export default function, use controls. Use controls. Good. And then we're just gonna put that on the right and go to this player and hide this and give me some more space. Let's see, everything that we can. So I'm worried because this selected element current, that's coming from a that's coming from the selected element, the ref, and I don't. How about this? How about this? We say I'm gonna switch this and say use player. And then I'm actually going to define the player itself. So that's this icon. I'm also going to define that. This is a bit annoying. Like I don't, let's just try it out. Let's try it out. Use player. Hopefully you'll see what I mean soon. So we'll say, we're going to put that ref there. And I want to say const, oh wait, now I can say, no, I have to define it still. So I have to say const element. Maybe give it a capital element equals. Oh, I'm not sure if this is gonna go all right, but let's just try it out. I'm not sure if what I'm doing now is gonna be very nice because the JSX, first of all, it needs to be then called usePlayer.tsx because I'm gonna define an actual audio element in there. I could also just export the ref. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. I don't want to export this. This is a bit too painful. I'm getting a bit crazy here. The hook should not be TSX. It should not be like this. It should just be TS. Don't lose my mind over here. And just go crazy. Don't go slowly and just take this audio element and export it from here. That should work out well. And then what else are we gonna take? Man, moving these callbacks is way more painful than I originally thought. I was like, oh, let's just do that real quick. And because I'm thinking about leaving the dragging stuff here. Yeah, I definitely want to keep all the stuff that uses mouse X. I'm going to leave there. This also uses mouse X. So that means, and that's not too crazy because it kind of means focus on these kind of things. On playing. Click play is also fine. I can move that one. What else can we move? And we use playing. Oh, but playing is where's playing? Okay, but that's fine because that's coming from here. And we can just copy all of that. Yeah, this is gonna be painful. Anything that uses dragging, I'm going to keep. The selected element, I'm going to also, I guess, bring from this side. So audio element, selected element. Then we're going to load everything. The track I can also get from there. Disabled, of course. Actually, the memos need to be on top. I want those calculated pretty quickly. Oh, we're going into the dirtiness. But yeah, you can see already, if this is this difficult to do now, imagine I did it later, right? It would just become more and more difficult until you have this unmanageable file in your file system and you're just crying every day. Like, that would make me so unhappy as a programmer. So this refactoring is kind of needed. The dragging I'm going to leave because I want to make my life easy and keep this mouse X here, I guess. Or I don't. I could move everything and just load it. You know what? Maybe I will. Maybe I will, because in a way it makes it also easier that I can just copy everything here. Callback. Let's take all the callbacks first now and put them below below the states. They can go here. And then we're gonna also pick, so we're really gonna pick everything, honestly. Like, we're just gonna pick everything, including the dragging. And we're gonna have to load it all from this hook, and that's okay, that's possible. So we'll put that there too. And then these use effects. That's also an interesting question. I guess, yeah, why not? Let's just leave the template in the player itself and move everything else. Volume progress and full seconds. Maybe I'll leave those here. Why not? Yeah, I can leave those here. But why? If I'm moving everything anyway. Yeah, let's just move it all. God, I'm a little bit indecisive. My bad. It's a hard decision to make, I guess. Because it's doing a lot, but I think it makes sense. There's a reason for this. Ooh, volume icon. Now that's the one I don't want. That one I definitely want to keep here because that has to do with literally like the exact icon and stuff that I want to move. So that makes more sense to put there. Okay, now we're going to fix everything up. We're going to import all these things, use layout effects. That's good. Use callback, of course, needs to be in there. Okay, now that's everything is good. The use state, of course. All the normal things that you'd expect. And now we need to export everything away from here. Oh, that's gonna be pain. Use store needs to be added. Where's my use store? Tailwind merge is there. Am I blind? Oh, yes, I'm blind. There. Now you can see this queue it needs. I accidentally put that stuff here. That's not okay. It needs to be probably here. Yeah. Okay. Now let's export everything. So we can first of all clean this up. I like sorting on the length of it. Bro, have you ever made any chatbot like Telegram bot, Discord bot, a YouTube bot? Yes, I did a Telegram bot. I did a Twitter I did something with. I think, yeah, Discord too, but not a YouTube bot. No. I did a bunch of bots though. Yeah, Telegram is very easy to bot. I did it in multiple ways. I had one like bot from like the bot father, but I also made a more like bot that is controlled by an user account. So it takes over your account. So yeah. Let's see. So we've got, let's see. Oh, let me just put this online. Yeah. There's no difference. Okay, so let's export everything that's in this thing. So anything we need. So track needs to be, of course, exported and disabled. Track disabled. On playing. On pause, click play. What else? On drag, on start dragging. Stop dragging, and God, it's so much now. Go prep, go next. Go prep, go next. I think that should be it now. Bunch of layout effects, played progress, of course. Played progress. And another bunch of effects, and then that one. Okay, and I think I can move this play progress. Oh, it needs to be up, right? Because this use effect uses it. Then I kind of want to clean that up and move all of these things above the use effects, right? I mean, use effect should always be at the end, I guess. Use layout effect should be even later. Slowly we're getting to some structure here. Use layout effect I want to visually put below the use effects, because they also really do execute later, like after the rendering has been done. So now we have all these things, and that should be returned. Boom. And then again, I want to sort based on length, not color, but based on length. That always makes it feel kind of organized to me. Okay. Layout effects are good. Everything is fine. Everything is exported. Oh, sorry. Full seconds and volume progress. I forgot those. Full seconds. There we go. It's a lot to export. Wow, that was insane. And you can really now start to see, you can respect the hook that was written here, 200 lines big, while this file is still 138 of just raw, endless amounts of templating. The volume icon is fine, but now we need to, execute that hook. Probably, yeah, above, I don't know, doesn't matter. Equals use layer. And now I need to import everything here, I guess. Oh, wait, let me just copy it exactly from here. And then I do think we can put the store first. There. Nice. And now we can clean everything up. Boom. This is all good now. What is not working? On mouse move. Oh, I think this is again because it's not importing the right things from React, right? Like all these things we used to have from React. Let's just add everything. Yeah, that should now shuffle. I think shuffle wasn't defined yet because we were still busy defining that one. Yeah. Okay, good. Should I say like click shuffle? Because it's also like click play and stuff. So yeah, I guess I should say click shuffle and click repeat. Oh, click repeat. Okay, and then we'll define them here somewhere that makes sense. Maybe just here. Click shuffle. Click repeat. Click shuffle, click repeat, and then add those here. Click shuffle, click repeat. Okay, good. And then we can import those right away. Okay. Good. Any other errors to solve? Dragging cannot find the name dragging. Haven't I defined that here? Oh yeah, I haven't exported it properly. Dragging. And dragging. And then this mouse event we need to import again from React. Click shuffle. It's not happy with the way I typed it. Oh, because, is that again? Because it's not, I guess I should say something like that this is a mouse event. On a what? Just an element. No, mouse event, SVG element, yeah, it's difficult. I mean, does it even matter? I don't even need to know. Oh. Why is it making a trouble out of this? The expected type comes from onClick, which is declared here. It's not assignable to the mouse event handler. Why does it say that this is the definition of it? The definition is nothing. Oh wait, no, that's correct. Click shuffle, click shuffle. I don't really understand. Oh, what in the fuck did it do here? It, like, I thought it understood that it came from this thing. Now it randomly created two functions that don't exist. That's great. Okay, go back here. Take all of this. There we go. Problem solved. And then here, audio element again. Is that not given? No, that wasn't given. My bad. Wow, look at all these functions and stuff. To make a good player work, it's like endless. That was deep. Feels like I changed everything. Let's restart, see if everything still runs. Did I just break it permanently? What? Failed to import the player? Oh, because this is because of the source player probably not being good again. Because it always does this weird source thing. I need to fix that. There is something there that is wrong on my side. Okay, good. Clean that up. Well, we're still in an error. Cannot set property of null setting volume. Did I have set volume in here? Oh, did I need to save this? Ah, that was it. Okay, I just forgot to save that file. Well, it was quite a surgery. It took way too long. I should have done that faster. Hey, Rajesh. I should have done that faster, but yeah, so be it. It was good to also review things a bit and to see the complexity. And I'm actually quite happy to see now that these two files, like one of them is just filled to the brim with effects and callbacks and memos and calculations and hardcore shit. And the other one is just some templating. It's kind of relaxing to have the difference. So that makes sense. And that's also like when people, I remember when I was new to React, this was also years ago, and then they said, oh, can you write a hook? Can you write a hook? And I was like, oh my God, I need to write a hook. What the fuck is a hook? How am I writing a hook? Because remember, maybe for those of you who don't know, initially React came, there were no hooks. Hooks was a new thing. You used to do actually with classes and stuff. That's what I was doing because I jumped into React as soon as it was released. So later when hooks came out and I went to get a new job and they were all using hooks and I was still coming from this age of no hooks. And I was like, oh my God, hook, hook, hook. And now you can see like, it's nothing. Like, it's just a function. Like, what is a hook? Like, it's so stupid. Like, you just, you can see here, I made my own hook. I said, use player. But it's just, I just moved all the code I would normally write here and I moved it to its own function. Like, and then that's a hook. Like, it's not special. Like, it's not crazy. It's not weird. I mean, there are some default hooks given to you by React that are a little annoying to understand. Ref can be a little frustrating, even though again it's pretty simple, but ref can be annoying. Memo and callback and effect are all pretty straightforward. Layout effect also, just remember it goes after the layout has been rendered, which is kind of in the name. So yeah, it's not as complicated as it sometimes seems. Okay, until you forget to put something in your dependency array in a huge file, and you're like, fuck, which hook is messing up, and then you're a bit screwed. But yeah, until then it's easy. Okay, now what can we do? We are working on the oh, they look good though, those buttons, right? Wow, it looks really nice. So now we just need to make them work, and they have multiple states, and we need a place to store those states. So let's start with that. Let's go to the types, and let's create a state for these things, right? So what are the states? We'll do looping or repeating, something like, or repeat. It can be none, repeat none, repeat the queue, or repeat the track. Great. And then the other thing is shuffle, and that is just a boolean. There you go, Bob's your uncle. Now we have to go to the store and give these good default values. So we'll say, oh, do we want to get these values again from local storage? No, I don't care. No. Shuffle, false, repeat, none. Those are great defaults. There you go. Just keep them gray, make them activatable, done. Okay, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna say if you are let's start with loop, I guess. That's actually the harder one, I guess. Yeah, loop is definitely the harder one. Let's start with shuffle then. Yeah. Okay, start with shuffle. Let's go to use player. We need to get this value out. And at this point, I'm thinking, is there any value that we don't get out of this thing, right? Like it's like we're getting everything. But it's not true. Art is not. So we shouldn't. We should keep it. Like you might ask yourself, like, why is this thing so huge? Why not just export everything? But I'm trying to kind of not put in memory what I don't need to. And yeah, it's a bit too much. It's not comfortable to read so much code, but you know, I'll survive. Like it'll be fine. So okay, so we'll just keep adding to this. So we need to know. We definitely need to know both values, repeat and shuffle. Oh, oops. Repeat and shuffle. So we have them now. And now if you click shuffle, what are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna update something. Updates, and we're gonna get updates. Shuffle is the opposite of the current value. That's an easy one. Now, this one is gonna be, so this is funny. So now I could do like next, I could do like if this then that, if this then that, if this then that. In this case, it might actually be the best. I could also do something fancy. Let's not do something fancy. I mean, let's do something semi-fancy. Okay, so I'm gonna do a map. Again, I said semi-fancy, right? Like it's not too fancy. It's kind of a bit funny. I don't know. We'll see. You'll see. It's not that good. We'll just do it and then see how it is. Again, you go from. So what are you repeating, right? You repeat the track. What were the values again for repeat? Let's write repeat and hover. None, queue, and track. So there was none, there was queue, and there was track. And none will go to queue. Queue will follow track. and track will go back to none. Right? And now I think it's fine to just say update the loop, the repeat to be the map of the current value repeats. Right? And this should always return. So this is weird, right? Why would it say string is not definable? Yeah, but this is not a string. I mean, okay, yeah, oh, it thinks this is a string. No, okay, but it's fine. I guess we just have to explain that this is a record of yeah, and now we get into this stupid issue where the type is not properly defined. So let's go over here and let's call this a certain way. Repeat export type equals type export type repeat. Yeah, it's okay. This TypeScript sometimes needs a little massaging, you know how it is. And now we can import it. There we go, no more issues. And this is what I said, instead of having a bunch of if-else statements, right, or even the more clean if return, I don't want to repeat update, update, update everywhere, right? I just want to be able to map. And now I'm mapping none to queue, queue to track, and track to none, right? That's kind of nice. Another solution could be to use an array and then pick the next one in the array. But again, the code there, too much. When to use enum, when not to. Well, in this case, you could totally use enum, whatever you want. But one tip I give usually is like if for a UI, if you're building like a UI framework, which I'm also doing, by the way, in my other company, usually it's not nice to force the user to always use the enum type. You can, and the key is like, imagine I have defined some enum, right? So enum la 1 equals 1, 2 equals 2. Now, one trick that you can do, if you want to use Lala inside your own code, but then when you export the component, you want to allow people to just give the string value, you can actually just say key off Lala, right, in your definition. And that will allow people to just use these as strings, which is very useful because else they always need to import that when they just want to use a property that you're exporting. So I would say in that case, don't do it. But in the case where you control the code, you're the only one using the enum, like you and your developers in your repo. Yeah, enums are fine. I remember there was like this post someone sent me once about like how enums don't hold their state, like enums had some memory problem or something. And I was like, man, that's so fucking nonsense. Like, if you complain about enums not being right in some scenario, it's like, it's just bullshit, man. That's like Java programmers complaining that something is public and not private. I'm like, who are you trying to fuck over here, man? It's like you're not preventing a hack. You're not like doing anything significant. You're just annoying other programmers that you work with. Like, anyway. So my view is it's very arbitrary sit on. You can always use it. There is almost no situation where you can't, except maybe the one I just said about making a UI library or some kind of very reusable thing where you don't want to always force users to have to import the type. For instance, if I say that if I'm importing a button from Material UI, right? Material UI, one of the most famous UI libraries. If I want to say that a button is like primary, then I don't have to import button type as an enum, right? Because they've said like, okay, it's fine to just say string, right? Which is very useful. And it's still like, you know, you can still in the editor when you check, it's still showing you an example of what you can give because it's a key of, so it's a subset. But anyway, so it has the best of both worlds. Like it doesn't force you to import the enum, but you can still provide the value as a string, but it's in, and the IDE will tell you what the options are that you have when you're typing. So it's like, that's the best. And that's what Google did. And whenever Google is doing it, it's usually kind of the right way to do things. Because Google thinks very, very hard about software development. So does Facebook. Facebook developers are excellent. In fact, guys, little rant, small rant, but I'm just saying, when I was doing Angular 1, And then they switched to Angular 2 and stopped maintaining Angular 1. And all my code was Angular 1 back then. And it was so painful to switch. And I remember the company, imagine me standing in front of the CEO going like, yeah, I just need to rewrite everything because they went to Angular 2. Like the motherfucker was like, shut the fuck up, bitch. That's such a bad thing to have to say, right? Like, oh, if we want to stay with the times, we need to rewrite all our apps. Those companies invest, hundreds of $1,000s sometimes in interfaces. Okay, not that much, but like a lot of money, and they don't want to just redo it because some random developer decided to move forward. So with React, when React came out with hooks, they didn't do that route. They didn't do it that route. They said, hey, you can now use hooks, but you can still use class-based. So it's backwards compatible. And that's what a really good library developer always does. Make it always backwards compatible, right? Always. Very, very nice. Now, some people weren't happy with that and the performance hit and they made like Preact or something. Well, I don't know what the fuck. But the reality is that Facebook did a way better job at maintaining their libraries than Google did. And I hope that Google, learning from going from Angular 1 to Angular 2, never does it again. I hope they learned that's not the right way to maintain a library, to make these kind of breaking changes all the time. Not all the time, but even just once is very painful. It was already so big. Okay, enough talking. We've updated the state properly, but now we just need to listen to that state. The shuffle and the loop need to listen. So what is that? We need to check. First of all, let's go to the shuffle here, or repeat. Let's first do shuffle, because shuffle is easy. Shuffle is just like, give me a colored box whenever, oh, fuck. Shuffle, click shuffle. This one is easy. It's going to be shuffle. Oh, I need to load it from memory. I also need to get it from here. Shuffle and loop. Oh, sorry, and repeat. I keep calling it. Keep calling it loop. Not used to it. Just bring it in random places, but okay. Am I here, right? Shuffle. Shuffle. But it's also, I also want to have a track. So we want to say that it has to be track and shuffle. In that case, we're going to go for that nice orange color. I should really put that orange color, by the way, in my Tailwind config. At some point, I'm going to fix all of that and do the right, and put colors in the right places and stuff using the Tailwind theming. But for now, I'm a little sloppy and I just put it directly. Okay, so this is good. There has to be a track, and then shuffle needs to be true, and then it will highlight the shuffle button correctly. So that's great. And then I guess it's the opposite case with loop. With repeat, where we will say that as long as you have a track and the repeat is not none. If that's the case, then an else. There we go. And I like that I don't have to do enum here. I don't know, this reads a little nicer to me. But then again, sometimes I do like enums, because especially if you want to change the enum value, now it's like going to be painful as hell to change none. But I'm not that, I'll just change it. I accept the pain. A good programmer accepts a certain level of pain. And now you can also see that this text gets so nicely overwritten in different ways. Imagine, and that's especially painful, like ternaries, like where you do X question marks AB, right? A:B. That is easy to do if you only have two options. But when it becomes like this, like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, now you definitely don't want to have like a ternary and a ternary and a ternary and a ternary, right? Like that would become so painful. So by having TW merge, you've really solved all your issues, and you can just, that the one that has priority is at the bottom, right? So the last one defined is the most important and will override the others. And then you can put your individual questions here and everything's fine. Very nice. Okay, I mean, I said a lot. Does it work? So both of them stay off when there's no track, so that's great. When there's a track, they go on, that's good. And now this is interesting. When I click, see, it stays that color. And that's not what I want. So I forgot that this hover text white, we also want to do something with the hover of this color. Didn't I already do that? I had that play button has that too, right? Yeah, here. There we go. It's a different color too, so that's really nice. Can reuse that, but it's not background, it's text in our case. But that's the one. We just want to add that for both this one and for this one. Okay, now again, play. Yeah, it's subtle. It's a subtle change, but it's there. Ooh, and then if I click again, is that what I want? I mean, first of all, I don't think it just doesn't work. Like I click and it doesn't actually work. Oh, I think I probably forgot again the dependency array in my shuffle, click shuffle thing. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Always that nasty dependency array to think about. Yeah, repeat, that's it. Oh, go away. It feels nice. It feels good. And this one goes one, and then again, stays there, and then again. So now this is nice because this means we have this, we need to add this little icon. That little one, right? They put like this little one in there when it's only repeating one. So how are we gonna do that? Go to the player. Go to the loop, repeat. So I'm afraid that we're gonna have to just put a div around this. Like I don't think we can go around that and just make that a relative one, so we can put an absolute position thing inside of it. Like that's gonna have to be the way. I guess, probably, maybe, hopefully. So now we say repeat equals track. Then we will just put this little span in here that says the digit 1, absolute, bottom, 0, left, I don't know, 2 pixels, we'll see, and then the color. Oh, and this thing, I think we want this entire class name on the parent. And add the word relative here. Because we want also this little one to join in that coloring, like join in the highlighting and everything. Okay, what does this look like? Yeah, well, it's not too bad. I mean, it's pretty trash, obviously, but it's not too bad. And now let's see. We'll do it from here, right? That way we know what to do. So let's see. We'll just put this on 20 or something. Font size. I think it's actually not nice to do this. We need to go and switch this around, right? The background color needs to be, I don't know. Yeah, this is also bad. Maybe just a dot, you know, instead of the letter 1. Isn't that also what Spotify does, like a dot? Maybe it's not too clear. Yeah, 45% is an annoying number. Font weight, bold. This looks so bad, right? needs to be kind of the corner, I guess. Maybe like background orange and then color is black. Border radius. Yeah, that's not, again, pretty bad, but how bad? Oh, yuck, what have I done? Not exactly happy with this. Can the font size can go one lower? I think now it's maybe getting to the point where it might be acceptable. Like this? I don't know. I mean, look, I think this is about as good as it's gonna get, honestly. Like I'm not doing so well. Let's just put this in. So let's just make these some classes that Tailwind understands. So the bottom is 8 pixels. Let's see if that's a default. That's this one. It's great. Left is a 52%, so let's hard code that one. Then font bold, great. Background color orange, yeah, we'll change that soon. Color black, so text black. Radius is 14, so rounded 14 pixels. Or is it just XL? Maybe XL is close enough. That's 12, should be enough. Width is 10, so W 2.5. Then display flags, of course. Item center, justify normal center. And line height 1, leading base, I think. Normal? No, none. Leading none. Okay, that should be it. I believe. Oh, the background color. That has to come from this. And then make that BG. Okay, let's see. Oof, I forgot the font size. Text 10 pixels. Hello, Kavika. Hope all is well. Let's see where we are now. Yeah, this is acceptable. Like, I feel like I understand it's looping the same song. So yeah, loop look good. That looks nice. It clearly cycles between all three. Wait. Ooh, I think something weird was happening where I was clicking, but it wasn't triggering. Wasn't triggering this? Did that really happen? Wait, let me check. I think I clicked here. Oh. What is this area? Okay. That is so weird. Is that the one itself? Let's oh fuck, I'm retarded. This thing should just be. This thing looks good. Looks has to go to the div too. So now it's fine. Yeah, now it's really easy. Good. Okay, so now we have to actually make it work. Now the shuffle is the easiest one because we have a use effect in the use player that goes to the next song, right? We know that one. That is like go next. And then instead of normally how go next works is that we just pick the next one, but this now has to take a random one from the queue. I actually believe, by the way, that the real random function that they put in in Spotify is not random. It's not true random. And that's because people generally never want to hear the same song that they just heard. And they also don't want to hear it. Like, it kind of, I think when you click on random, it randomizes the list once. And that's it. Like, it doesn't. So maybe I'll do that too, right? I want to randomize it, but just once. And then if you go to the first again, I'll randomize it again. Something like that. So not great, but you know, we'll see. We'll say if the oh, this thing normally doesn't even look at the track. Well, it's okay. I could say if track is first, right? So now we're resetting, we're going to the next, but we're going from the first. If we are random, so sorry, if we're shuffling, now we want to shuffle. We want to update the queue to shuffle everything. So update queue. It's a bit weird because then we say go next after, right? But that one uses the queue as well, right? Yeah. And that one will not have the latest queue and it will want to update the queue. So actually, oh, that's painful. So here we have again an issue that relates to state management, right? Like I can't execute this function because this function doesn't know what the actual queue is. Now we solved this last time by doing something called like a force drag, right? And I could do that same technique here. It's not that beautiful, guys, and I apologize for the pain, but I think we might need to do that. Because go next, but go next is also used directly, so it's actually really dirty. Oh no. You know what? I don't think this is an issue. I just realized because we're not going to put it in this automatic one at all. Actually, that's the worst place to put it. We're just going to put it in inside of the go next. That's the best place. That's it. Okay. We're going to test this anyway, but I do believe the logic that Spotify uses, at least, and most music players, it's not that every time you get to the end, it picks a random new song. That is not how it works. Because then you get these really weird things where you hear the same songs over and over again. What it does, it simply takes the playlist you're currently playing, randomizes it once, sorts it all in different ways, and then just plays from there normally. And then every time you get to the end of the playlist, you go back, you sort again. So that's also what I'm going to do here. I'm going to say like, look, normally we just take the next one like this, and that's fine. But if we have shuffle on and the current track that we're dealing with, which would be payload 0, is first, then we're going to shuffle. And how do we shuffle? I guess we just say payload sort. I'm not actually sure if this is going to work well. But let's just see. I don't know. Math random. I mean, I think that's just like a real randomness, I guess. Hopefully, maybe, probably. Oof, I really don't know. We'll see. I'm going to test this out. But this seems right. If I click on shuffle, nothing happens to the player, right? It only happens afterwards when you go next. But that's also the issue. If I wasn't shuffled before and now I am, maybe we should do something where if you click on shuffle, it automatically removes first from all the values in the queue and puts it on the one that's currently first. Because then this would work. No, not if I look at payload first. I need to look at queue first then. Yeah, exactly. They keep the current song playing. So we want, yeah, okay. So now I know what to do. So we have this logic here that's going to do the work for us, but there's one little bit about this that we want to execute twice. We want to execute it either when we click on shuffle, then at the end of the song that we were playing at that moment, we want to do it, or we want to just do it then, but then also at the end of the playlist when it's done completely and it goes again and plays the first, then it again sorts everything randomly afterwards. I think that's fine. The problem is that maybe now in this approach, the song that I just played okay, wait. Okay, wait. I know what to do. This is so interesting. Like const, so we're taking the song that we've currently played first. We take that out, right? What does go next do? It takes it from the one that we play. Yeah, okay. Const first or first equals shift. I know I'm not making a lot of sense, guys. My bad. But I'm trying to figure this out in my mind before my mouth can actually say what I'm thinking. I think this is right. And the wording first is weird. So let's say current. This is the current song, or the song that just ended, right? So the current one. We're shifting that away from the payload. Then we're sorting the rest of the payload, and then we're adding this back in at the end. So the reason we're doing this is to make sure that you just clicked on shuffle. You don't want to hear the same song you just played again, right? So we're kind of pulling it out of the array, shuffling whatever the fuck is left, and then shoving the thing back at the end, right? To make sure the song you just played is going to be the one that you hear last again, which kind of makes sense. I think that is from a user experience, that makes sense. But now, does this Q0 make sense? No, right? This should be current now. If the current was first, then we're going to sort everything else and then put it back at the end. Yeah, I think this logic is solid. Yeah, I think so. I hope so. Yeah, just untangling this was the key. Definitely the key. And now, if I click on shuffle, I want to remove the value first from everything and just put it on the one that I'm currently playing. That's really the last thing that I want to do. So when I click shuffle, I don't just want to update shuffle, I actually also want to update the queue. Const payload equals queue dot map. So we go over all the tracks in the song T, and we say that the tracks are going to be first is going to be false. And also we want to do it like this, where we return the object T, but we put the first on false, like that. It's a nice and functional line. And then we take the first value of the payload, and that might not exist. Just to be sure, I'm going to put that in. And then again, the value first, that one is going to be true. Do I have to do another question? Oh, wait. Oh, you can't do that actually. Okay, so I'm going to have to do... Is it logical to assume... Okay, we're going to say that if there is no queue... If there is no queue length, then we return. That makes sense. There's nothing to shuffle, right? Well, actually, there's something to shuffle. But I did say... No. I said if there's no track, then you wouldn't be able to click on this button anyway. So no track is the same as queue length. So this is all fine. Okay, good. Payload queue. Put the one on everything on false. Put the current first one on first. Good. Finally. Man, I'm really curious if this is actually gonna work. And also, didn't we have this console log somewhere? I remember putting a console log somewhere here. And instead of just doing the queue, which is going to be impossible to understand, let's just take every track here and return the ID. and then I can kind of quickly compare, right? So we're gonna add a bunch of stuff to the list. Okay, now this is a question of really figuring it out. So we got JVMO. I turn this on. JVMO, that's correct, because it should only shuffle when I'm at the end of this song. But it did show again this thing, because now it changed the first value to first, just to be sure. So that's good. Now let's get to the end. That was good, right? Yeah, it randomized it, and it put the J at the end. Yeah, this is exactly it. I think this was exactly right. So, and then if I do it again, it should not change. It should just like shift everything, but not randomize again. So M is followed by O is followed by J. M followed by O followed by J. I think this works. So, but again, so let's see at this song, right? So this was the song that was the first. God, I'm already lost. I'm already lost. So let's say Battle of Orleans. We're going to make that the first by just switching this. Oh my God, when I shuffle it, it starts to play again. No, why? Why? Why does it do that? We're deep. Click shuffle. Updates the queue. See, it updates the queue, but it doesn't update the first. It doesn't update the ID. Isn't that the thing that matters? I think maybe, I'm not sure exactly. Let's try this out. Let's say, I'm not sure exactly how this works. I think we can avoid this from happening by, now because the track is being updated. Yeah, the track is being updated, guys. That's bad. But if I say track.id, theoretically, that should be okay. Because the ID doesn't change. Like, this is a bit of a, I'm not sure if this is gonna work. Yeah, then it works. Oh, yeah, that's a dirty one. That's a really dirty one, guys. Well, so I told you the inner I called it the jacket, right? Those queues in the queues, they're constantly refreshed and changed. So if I was checking the track, just the track, then this one will fire this use effect every time I update the track, even if I didn't change the order. But now I'm doing like check only the ID of the track, and that value actually stays the same. So by adding track ID, it doesn't trigger now when I do that. And when I go next, it should trigger. Yeah, it does trigger. So that's what we needed. It was that's kind of a hidden thing. Like, good luck to all the programmers out there for that one. If you fuck that one up, it's hard to, I should put a comment there, but nah, I'm not going to do that. That's for people. You know, that's the one thing I often think about. If you guys have ever read about Einstein, don't know if you ever read a bit about him, but he was doing apparently this really complicated tensor analysis, as they call it, like this kind of, you know, I don't know it, of course. It's like 4D math, you know, like describing gravitational pull and general relativity, super difficult shit. And at one point he got a bit annoyed at having to write like a very long notation, which was the mathematical way to do it. And he started shortcutting it. He started like cutting a huge part of text into like something very small, and he meant the big thing, right? He was doing a notation that no one was using, and so what they did, they just called it the Einstein notation, and from that point onwards, that was just fine to do because Einstein did it, and so be it, and it's now called the Einstein notation. And when I was reading about this, I was like, in the world of programmers, it's not like that. If a programmer is doing something himself in a weird way, without explaining, without a clear way that everyone is doing it, everyone gets mad at this guy, right? They're like, oh, make it simpler, make it simpler. In physics, they're like, fuck you. I make it simple for myself, not for you, right? Like, that's it. So, like, that's why I also don't like comments that much. Like, it's like, look, man, if you find it very difficult, then good luck. You know, it's your problem, not mine. Like, I like that it's in physics. It's a little bit more up to the scientist to understand what's going on, and they don't blame the main guy, the guy who invented it or started doing it first. They don't blame him for making it hard. Like, they just say, "Oh, I'm too stupid. I need to learn the Einstein notation, of course." Right? So I really think that's a different way of thinking, and I'd like programmers to be a little bit more like that, especially Java programmers. Fucking Java programmers, man. It's like the classic Java is like car equals car equals new car, and then inside of that is like car wheels, right? That's a Java programmer right there. He repeats the word car like 16 times before he gets to the end of his class. It's like, bitch, just call it car, and the car has wheels, right? And the context of car is in, don't repeat, don't, and then they say, yeah, but I want to make it clear. I'm like, bitch, what other wheels should a normal car have? Like, if you just say normal wheel, if you just say the word wheel, what do you mean? You mean the wheels of the car. What else? Like, you're describing the car class. Like, stop making things overly clear. Like, it's not making it clear, it's making it annoying. Like, as if I'm retarded or something. Like, or I don't know, it's not even to help dumb people, because you have to read more text, which dumb people don't want to do. So if you really want to help a dumb person, write less text. Make these variables shorter, right? Okay, maybe that's a hot take. Anyway, so yeah, we've done the track ID. We've got the shuffle is working. So I'm really happy with that. And I think the logic is correct. So I'm very happy with that. Now it comes to the loop. So right now we come to the end, and it should just end, right? It goes, yeah, it stops. I can play the last one again, and it stays just here. So now it's time to build the loop. And how does looping work? So if the loop is on track, that should be the easiest. Then we just don't go to the next. And if you, but what if you click on next while you're inside this loop of 1? Does that break it? Do you then turn off the single loop? I think you go to the next, truly, and then you just repeat that one forever, right? So the repeat forever thing only applies to the thing that checks, that automatically plays the next song, which is this thing, right? We already put seconds played on 0. Then we go to next. But I think if we just say like, and loop is not track. Oh, sorry, repeat. Repeat is not track. And remember, we have to put this repeat in here. Disabled, go next, and repeat is not track. Then go next. But the question is, do we now automatically start playing at 0? Or does it just stop playing the song? I mean, it's probably going to stop playing the song, right? Because it's never going to trigger, you know, that play function. Oh, this might be a little painful. So normally, go next changes the ID of the track, and that causes the thing to play. Right, that's what this thing is doing. Where is it? Track .id. This is doing this. But you know what? I'll just say play again. Like, right? Like, shouldn't that just be fine? So I'll say if repeat equals track, go play. But again, I think this might not work, because I think this is happening while it's already still playing, right? So not sure, because this update hasn't gotten through yet. But maybe I'm gonna do something very dirty and just put a set timeout around it, you know. When shuffle is clicked, does the order of the queue changes after each song is ending? No, only when the song that you are currently playing, after you click on shuffle, the song you are playing at that point, after that one ends, then it shuffles. And it does so again when you reach at the end of the playlist, when it restarts, then it shuffles again. So every time you go around the playlist, it will shuffle once. And the first time being once you click. I do think, thinking about that now, that it might not be good enough. Like you might want to shuffle also just again, because I remember with Spotify, you see that the queue is randomized. Like you can see it when you click. That's actually kind of an important side effect that I didn't think about. Maybe I can also put that in, but then I have to change this a little bit, because then the first... This is still correct. I do think this is still correct. We just don't want this to execute on the one that's currently playing. We want to execute it on the last one. Okay, yeah, that's fine. You know what? I'm going to change it. My bad. Sorry to go back, because I do think that we want to have it perfect, because you want to see the change. So when you click shuffle, we're going to randomize this queue. And then we're going to say, instead of taking the first, we actually take the last. So that's the payload length -1. This is the right way, I think. Because now when you click shuffle, it will randomize everything. And the last one, it will say this was the first. And that means that once you reach the end, it'll randomize again for the next time. And put that one to the end again. So this is correct. Yeah, I'm now reordering as soon as the button is clicked. So let's see if that works. MOD. It didn't work. It didn't work. Okay, why not? That's weird, because I'm saying payload is the queue map and then payload sort. It seems totally correct. Why not? Let's do that again. Tick, tick, tick. ODT. ODT. It doesn't want to randomize. Am I completely out of my mind? Click shuffle. Yes. Payload sort. Oh, I think... No, because I'm mapping it, so it's okay. That's a fresh array. Isn't that weird? I think sorts in place, so that's correct. I really thought I did a fine job here, but apparently not. MDT? MDT? Why is sort not doing what I think it's doing? Sorts an array in place. This method mutates the array and returns a reference to the same array. Yeah, it mutates the array. The array is simply this, where all the first values are false. I don't know what's going on. A map already creates a copy, so is math random not doing what I wanted to do? Payload sort. I'm completely flabbergasted, guys. I don't know what I'm doing. It should just work. What the fuck? Let's say JSON stringify. Kind of make sure I get the current moment. Or no, let's say payload.map TTID, right? That should be fine. And then say that again here. There should be a difference. I mean, what in the fuck? It's like math random not working or something. I'm just doing some weird stuff now, like just randomly. Well, let's think about this. Let's do this. Let's say the IDs are gonna be TID. So we're getting all the IDs out of the queue. That's good. That's fine. Then we're gonna say we're gonna sort these IDs. And then we're gonna afterwards say that the payload, const payload, equals IDs map. And now we're gonna actually get the tracks back. Oh, we didn't have tracks in memory, right? Wow, so just for this, we need to put the tracks in memory. Painful. But yeah, I don't really know any way to do it then. Like, I have no idea why it's doing this, guys. This is just desperation, not knowledge. I must just be getting tired. I don't know. I'm forgetting something, but it feels so weird. Like that sort function not sorting in place. What's happening? But yeah, yeah, depending on the state. But the thing is that that const was a different, like it's a new array. So why? Yeah, it's a new thing. Or does it, wait, let me Control Z, wait. I have some other ideas. Before I do that, which I will eventually just do that because I'm getting desperate, but let me do something small. Let me see if this works. Maybe this is the exact opposite of what we did before. It's keeping the queue, but it's just replacing the content. But by doing like this, like a little spread operator with the queue there, maybe that creates like truly a different queue that I can randomize. No, it doesn't. NOD. Wait, oh, doesn't it? It doesn't do anything else, right? It just updates the queue here. It gets queue in here. What the fuck? Okay, well, never mind. We're just gonna keep, I'm really curious to just fix it in a stupid way, and I don't really care that it's not the best. We gotta be practical, we gotta move forward. And I do want this feature, because I do like to see it shuffled at the right time. So, we're just gonna do simple, payload is gonna be a queue.map, where we're just gonna make a list of arrays instead of, sorry, an array of strings. Sort that randomly, see if that works. And yeah, math random, yeah, that's correct. And then we're gonna afterwards loop over it by saying so these are the IDs. ID sort, and then the payload equals IDs map. ID tracks, get the ID out. And also now we have to do get that like that. And then first, oh, this entire thing is like spacing out. I need to put this around there. There, start adding the tracks in. It's fine, it's fine. Look, it's not the most beautiful code ever written, but I will refactor it some other time. Feel more happy about things. Tracks. First, if this doesn't work, then I'm just gonna lose my mind. And now this one is easy. This one is like, we want the index I here, I equals the last one. So that's IDs.length -1. Right, so then we make the last one like that. If this doesn't work, then something really strange is happening. What the f I think I have an idea though. Like I don't know, like it seems that update might be triggering more because we're like the queue that comes in is already not okay. I'm just absolutely losing my mind. Because this is the thing, right? I'm thinking about global state and everything, but it doesn't even matter. This should still be different, right? Like if I click here. Like the math random really just doesn't work. Takes a compare function that returns a number, sorts it in place. Okay, you know what? We're gonna go Gemini. I'm gonna say, give me a function that sorts an array randomly. Am I just not writing a normal randomized function? I thought I was doing that. Oh, 0 and 1? Oh, what the hell? It says you need to do minus 0.5. But I thought it was doing more than just... No, that's not it. Still fucked. Oh, now it says I'm just a language model. I can't help you with that. That's great, man. That's wonderful. I pay $20 a month for Gemini to tell me that it's a language model and can't help me. That was already weird. I guess it's true that sometimes you can do with true values or something like, but yeah, this number is fine. I mean, look, it gives me two options. So I'll just use the other one. It's way dirtier to shuffle this way, but hey, whatever. Well, whatever I need to do. I'm desperate, so I'm just gonna do it. This thing should work too. Where it swaps the elements. And it's apparently a slightly different distribution that is, it's called Yates, Fisher-Yates shuffle, apparently. And that is slightly better. So that's kind of nice. I like that. So that's good. I'm happy with that. Okay, hopefully this works. Yeah, that works. I have no idea why. What in the shit? But yeah, fuck, doesn't matter. Works. I'm gonna ignore it. And again, better distribution, so apparently, you know, that it has some other benefits. Now I just need to make sure that when we're at the end, we do this automatically. So in go next, I also have this randomized function. There I need to also put all that stuff. Okay. There we go. Good. Now let's test it. So we have MOD, then I click on it, it changes to O. Oh wait, it shouldn't change the one that I'm currently on, right? No, it should just keep playing that one. I thought I was done with shuffle, and then shuffle came back to wreck the shit out of me. But okay, it's okay. We're just gonna have to do this little trick of taking the like const first is q dot, what is it, unshift? No, shift that first q guy, then put, actually no, let me do it like this. So we'll take the first ID, shuffle everything, and then ID is unshift the first. So now we know that that one will always stay at the start. Yeah, see, that's really great. The first one stays the same, and the rest is just randomized. So that's great. So now randomized, so we know this is randomizing properly, and the order is MODT. Actually gonna write that down, MODT. And now if I go 1, 2, 3, oh, well, I need to loop, I guess. Oh shit, like, okay, now I need the loop function to test this out. So that's actually fine. We'll test this later when we have the loop working. And the loop is not too hard at this point because we have the right state and we know that it always relates to when I'm disabled. So that's also, when am I disabled? I am only disabled if the queue is not length, and else I can always click it, right? Like, again, if I'm looping none, so this is loop, or sorry, repeat equals none, and there is no, or something like this. You always need this. There, I think it's something like this. Our repeat has to be none for these values to be true, because else we're only looking if the queue has any length. If there's any length, we're gonna allow looping one, looping the track, looping whatever the fuck you want. Okay, so just add this repeat to the queue here. We need to know. And that's it. Now we know, now we're never gonna be disabled, because repeat is never none and queue is as always has a length. So we're never going to be disabled. That's good. And then the go next is changed, right? Because, well, we have this logic around, hey, wait a minute. This thing always goes next. It doesn't stop. How come? I thought I already programmed that in. Like if we're at the end, we were not supposed to go to the next. Where is that logic now? This thing will always go to the next, right? Payload is the queue. Current is the shift of this. Always push the current to the end and then update the queue. It's never not doing that. I think I must have accidentally deleted it. So we have to put it back. And also we have to put some extra logic in. Oh wait, no, sorry. This is the go next when you click on the button itself. And that one you can't click on because it's disabled. So we use that disabled property to make it not even clickable. So that's kind of how we did that one. Okay, so that wasn't the one. It's this one here. Yeah, there it is. If disabled, go next. And repeat is not track, go next. If repeat is track, yeah, okay, I was already writing this, of course. I was already writing the repeat, but I'm wondering if this works. Okay, this is very curious. Okay, let's start. Oh, repeating one. Yeah, let's see if it actually goes. Yeah, it works fine. That's great. Good to hear. I really didn't think it would continue playing, but it makes sense, I guess. It's just that this should be much later than this, right? So the seconds played doesn't get updated. This one plays before, and that worries me a bit. But hey, it works, so whatever. I'm not gonna complain. Okay, now adding multiple things to the queue and seeing if they loop. And an M again. Yeah, it's fine. And does it do the same when I do this? Yeah, it does. And now when I go backwards, but wait a minute, if I don't have this and I go back, okay, then of course it doesn't work because of that. I think we're good. I think we're good. So now one final test. Wow, there was a lot more programming required to get these dumb little buttons going, but all right. Now let's see if I can just activate. So first of all, I can see that clicking randomly on it does randomize it right away, which is great. And so now we have an, let's write it down. M-O, oh sorry, M-D-O, M-D-O. In fact, let me add another one. M-D-O-T-N-V, M-D-O-T-N-V, T-N-V. Good, that's all the first things. Now, if I go towards the end, so now we want to play M again. Oh, I have to turn on loop so that I can... Hey, what was that? That was weird. Why did it say I was at the end? I turned on this and then I went next and it was like you can't go further. Why not? Isn't that weird? D-T-D-O-N-H. Like, there, I clicked again, so now it should be, let me log the entire thing, because I'm actually curious to know what the real, what the first value is. So I'm not going to do this anymore, I'm just going to load the entire queue. Tick, 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 tick. Okay, and now this one should be first, right? The actual first one, yeah, first true. The rest is first false, that's all good. This time, because this was the song on which you clicked shuffle, that's why. Yeah, but I now should put it on the last song, not the first. I guess I don't, that's the problem. Yeah, first is false and first is true. Yeah, this is actually correct. Does go next do something that I don't expect? Did I put some logic where I shouldn't have put it? Go next, because no, go next is no longer the random function. Oh, I put it here. If shuffle and the current is first. Yeah, no, but that's fine. Because current first, this one comes from the start. Yeah. So that's okay. This is correctly done. Okay. So yeah, this one says that I should be able to click on next at least a couple times, right? Yeah, is that correct? So now this value, oh, the number 1 is first, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true then. Yeah, that's true. I've played all the songs. No, it's actually not. I thought it was weird, but it's not. Now I can go next, but now, and this is the important part, now it should randomize again. So let's write the order, right? And see how often it randomizes. OVM OMMDT OMMDT OMMDT. OTMDAM, yeah. But now it should be the same. OM. No, it changed. It randomized. Man, okay, let me. I think this is just me testing like a bonobo at this point. I'm getting tired for sure. It's been too long. I first did a whole day of work, and then I did the stream now for how many hours. So it's getting to my mind. Things are starting to fall apart. let's just test also with only one. Oh, I can't remove anything from the queue. That is a great feature. That's for next stream. But okay, let's just add 1, 2, 3. MOT. And then let's randomize and this. MOT. OTM. TM. So OTM. 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 TM. OTM. It's not randomizing. I think this is because the chances are too low, right? Because we're only swapping 2 of them, so it's a 50-50. OTM. 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 OMT. Yeah, okay. It does eventually switch. You know what, guys? I'm going to be happy with this. I see that it does switch eventually, and I think my testing is just a bit poor, and if I were to do it with a lot more, then it would be better. But there is definitely a randomization going on. It does trigger every time you play throughout the entire playlist, which is fine. It works, it resorts immediately. It uses the special new method, which supposedly is even better. It never randomizes the one that you're currently playing. It doesn't even restart the player, so that's great. This works. I see how often I have to. It's a 50-50, so it's like sometimes it stays the same, but you know it's just pure chance. Okay, so yeah, I'm done. I'm ready. I'm gonna go and commit all of this work and go to the gym. That's gonna close soon. Oh, what a day! What a day! I hope it was useful. Here are all the changes. Feet. Stream 3. I think. Oh, let's make sure to use the exact same. Exact same commit style that I used last time. Feed stream 2. Yeah, feed stream 3. That's good. And I think node modules is already not part. That's fine. Let's just sync it. Oh, and where did I put that readme? Put it in. Yeah, I put it on the outside finally. Okay, so that should also be there now. What? Why is it not? Oh, it's still syncing. It's taking some time. Guys. Ah, there it is. Database. What's going on? Authenticate. Who are you? Authorize. What are you allowed to see and do? It's good. It's very good. And then API client over here. Types over there. Yeah, it's looking quite clean. I'm quite happy with this. All right, guys. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Patel, for being there till the end. And yeah, maybe tomorrow next stream. Who knows? Depends a bit on how I feel. But yeah, there's a lot more to do on the app, that's for sure. But yeah, we're really rebuilding even the little icons now. And we now have an actual server running as well, which is great. So I'm gonna move stuff like queuing and stuff needs to go to the right menu button. I also want to show the actual queue and resort that, you know, like be interesting that way. And then probably we need to start working on like actual playlists, so you can make new playlists and start playing those and adding things from other playlists to your own playlist, things like this. So there's a bunch of stuff that we want to work on. But that's all for the upcoming streams. We have endless amounts of work here to do. And eventually we're going to have a very, very serious app. And especially today, it was filled to the brim with these really huge, it's starting to get quite serious now, 231 lines of just pure endless use callbacks, use memo, use effect, use layout effect. All of it seems really necessary. I don't think I'm necessarily like doing things in a excessive way. It feels to me actually still quite clean. That random thing threw me a bit for a loop. I still don't know why that didn't sort in place. Something I don't get. But yeah, then again, this kind of different kind of shuffle did work and works better. So it's not just like triaging a problem, it's also just kind of improving the entire feature. So that makes me pretty happy. And then finally, I was actually kind of happy to show you this example of like, instead of having a bunch of if else, to just do a map and then to just have one little update function that you execute once and you use that map to get the new value. That's such a trick that I don't see often enough in code of juniors or even medias, to be honest. This kind of thinking of putting things in structure, because sometimes having the right data structure can prevent a lot of glue code, if else, switch, all that nonsense that just goes away if you have really good structure, if you map things according to the correct index, if you prepare your environment a little better before you start writing the code, right? Create some more like constants, and very often you call it mapping, right? Mappers. It's yeah. I think this stream today had a lot. It had a lot of stuff with the backend. Look how easy it is, right? Come on, like a server in JavaScript. This is it. There you go. HTTP, cross-origin, everything's fine. And you have no idea, like the pain that I see some developers go through. You tell them like, hey, just get me a server with cross-origin resource sharing, la 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 la. And you know what they do? They say like, okay, and then they go to Express and they install Express, and then they install a special course middleware. Course middleware. Like, are you out of your goddamn mind? Like, it's literally just 3 header values that you can just add. Why? They don't know. They don't understand. Like, it's so painful, right? Unbelievably painful. And I mean, even if you wanted to add like a public file server to here, you just install the package meme, media internet type, right? And then you just serve it up and check what you're reading and read it from a local file system. Like if you want a quick and easy public file system host, that is 3 lines of code into this, right? So then you would end up with 29 lines of code, and that's with as many breaks as you can possibly put. So I really feel like this kind of code is missing in the world, really. It really is missing. And also this little trick of when you're running a server, just don't even worry about compiling, brother. You just TSX source, that's it. It compiles on the fly, right? It's a server, you don't need to worry. You control the entire computer, like it's optimized enough. You don't need to pre-compile, recompile, like you're not... JavaScript is a scripting language in the end, right? Okay, TypeScript needs a little bit of processing, but it's minimal. It's not like you need to convert things to bytecode. It's being executed by a JavaScript engine called V8 in Node.js, right? Like, so it's not a lot of work. You can just do this on the fly. So this setup is just stripped down, and that's why I did the API this way. I hope to really inspire people to say, keep things simple. Don't overcomplicate your server, right? We're going to do a couple of very basic things with this server, and that's it. Okay, so that was my last rant. And yeah, see you guys in the next stream. Have a good evening.